And good evening, everyone. Welcome to this week's new episode of Primetime Gaming with Mr. Boomstick and Friends. And of course, I have brought a posse of friends ready to break down some of the gaming's biggest topics. We're going to be talking Xbox. We're going to be talking about Bethesda. Did they officially apologize to PlayStation gamers? Or did the media do what they do best and turn the narrative against Xbox? We're going to be breaking that.
No and yes.
Yes and no at the same time. But of course, let's get into the introduction so we can get right into this right into the opening topic. We're going to start with our two guests. First of all, Wandering Dutch. Welcome back to the program, brother. The best looking Viking that still exists in this era and time. What's up, brother? How you been?
Yeah, not bad, brother. Not bad at all. It's a pleasure to be back on the show.
Well, it's definitely great to have you, Ray. It's been a long time, too long in my opinion, and we just love what you've been up to with the community. My God, you have become a raging force, not only with your presence, but with some of your designs that you are working with others to bring forth, especially, when you get together with Indie Gamer and you guys start putting these incredible things together with the indie community. Love what you are doing.
Cheers, brother. Yeah, that's. I'm looking forward to it. Actually, that first indie showcase was, in considering it was kind of brought up in the space of a couple of weeks, managed to get it quite a success. It was really enjoyed doing it as well. So, thankfully, happy to say that next year it'll be back and in bigger and better terms than it was this year as well. So, watch out for that one.
Yeah, well, we're definitely looking forward to seeing what you are up to. And next, Sean D, another gamer with a presence within the community, making his return. Sean D, how the heck have you been?
I've been good, guys. Hey, everybody in the chat. It's been a while. I've been doing my gaming thing. I've been playing a lot of Like a Dragon, and I love it.
You know what? All I've been hearing is good things. I have it brand new sealed. I bought months ago, and now it's in Game Pass. I got to try that game. I saw somebody, some of the supers are so unusual, so outrageous that I have to play the game just because someone got hit in the head with a pot of soup. It just seems so incredible. But yeah, dude, great to have you back. And of course, let's introduce the panel. Now, we do have some folks that are missing. Unfortunately, Cybernox and both of our brother are not going to be here today. Obviously, Tempest's son is taking care of work, and I think Cybernox is held up at work as well. And listen, folks, this is just a podcast. They got to handle work. Obviously, they got to pay the bills. They got to pay the mortgages. And we will definitely get Tempest's son and Cybernox back next week. But we do still have here Kay Asante making his second official appearance as a Primetime Gaming member. Kay Asante, how are you, my friend?
Good evening, folks. I'm doing great, Boom. Thank you so much. Again, awesome to be a panel member on this show. I appreciate as again the invite and the invitation to join the panel. I'm loving the topics today. Like as I was saying to you while we were in the green room, you go all out with your show notes. So
don't sell yourself short, folks. If you don't know,
you go all out with your show notes.
I write a ridiculous amount of show notes. Sometimes they're 3,000 words. Sometimes they're 4,000 words. I am very meticulous when it comes to dates and times and proper release dates of things. It's important to me. It's what I do on the back end of the program. But but Kay Asante also does his homework because he showed me what he does, and his notes are just as long as mine.
Well,
and of course,
it triggers me to think, so then I have to reply. And, by the end of the day, when the show is about to start, I have a novel to match yours.
Well, listen, it's great.
But...
It's great that you are part of it. And of course, your professionalism shines through, which is why I wanted you a part of this program. Next up, the loudest man that could potentially this winter cause an avalanche, crushing his house, the middle-aged gamer guy. That's if you get any snow in Canada, which is ridiculous that you didn't. How are you, brother? And are you ready for tonight's program?
Yes, I am ready for tonight's program. Super excited
excited to be here. Obviously, it's Monday night. It's prime time. We got Boom in here. We got our panel. We've got our guest Sean D, and we've got, of course, the Wandering Dutch himself, the Viking, or Vikinger, as they say in AC Valhalla. Anyhow, shout out to that one thumbs down. By the way, it must have been that Twitter post today of me wearing glasses. But anyways, guys, we have a great show for you tonight. We got some great topics. Going to get spicy. Let's get right into it.
Nice. And last and no way least, this is a man that brings the oomph which each show that he does, because his opinions are so stout and obviously well thought. Everborn Saga, welcome back.
Hello. How's everybody doing? Wandering Dutch, nice to be on a show with you, good sir. I just want to shout you out for usually coming on Twitter and being the voice of reason when people have very hyperbolic takes. So I appreciate you for that, because a lot of the times there's things that I'm getting ready to type out paragraphs and multiple tweet threads, and then you just
Dutch,
come in.
Dutch got you with 1 or 2 words. Just
exactly.
The danger. I've seen that. Yes,
succinct. So I appreciate you for that. You saved my Twitter fingers.
No problem, brother. No problem. Anytime.
And Sean D, hello again, sir.
Hey,
we have podcasted before. And I gotta talk with you some more.
Well, listen, we're gonna get right into it, folks. Obviously, we have a big show for you tonight, and topic number 1, folks. And I think this is going to be most popular with just about anybody, not Xbox gamers. I think that if you're a gamer, you got to look at Xbox after E3 and smile. And the energy in the room with Xbox and its millions of fans, the exec staff and first-party studios has become infectious. And even the mainstream media, who shunned Xbox nearly the entire prior generation, has turned their eyes on Sony's shortcomings, specifically their no-show at E3 2021. And as E3, we wave bye to it, right? We still have no idea what Sony is going to do. We've had rumors that July 8th could be a show, but no confirmation from Jim Ryan. But we're not here to talk about Jim Ryan. We're here to talk about the man of the hour, the one person that everyone has had at the tip of their tongue the entire E3. And that, of course, is head of Xbox, Phil, Dominus, Maximus, Aurelius Spencer. And this is what he had to say about E3 2021. And I quote, "Thank you for a great week. Our most viewed E3 ever. We haven't felt players and the team sharing so much energy and excitement since the Xbox 360 era. We're inspired by the community's belief in Xbox, and we will continue to innovate with players at the center of everything we do moving forward." Now, the question, very simply, is, do we agree with him? And I want to start first with our guests, the Wandering Dutch. Do you agree with the temperature in the room being all Xbox? And are you there with Phil Spencer saying that this might have been the biggest E3 since the Xbox 360 era?
I'd probably go as far to say it was probably the biggest E3 since the original Xbox.
Wow, that's saying something.
Primarily because if you have a look at the shift of hierarchy as well as the temperature in the room for them themselves. I mentioned this the other day as well on Game On Daily. If you have a look at when the original Xbox One, well, the original OG Xbox launched, who launched that Xbox? It was the head of Microsoft himself, Bill Gates. Now, you're going into this E3, and who do you have on screen just 2 days prior? The man himself, Satya Nadella.
Satya Nadella with the Phil Spencer. That's a great point, dude. Yes.
You've also got, not only that, following, at least just after E3, or maybe even during E3, Satya Nadella was named the chair of the board for Microsoft. So not only have him and Phil got this really great relationship now, but he is now top of the pecking order at Microsoft. He is the man who makes overall decisions, and all decisions go by him. So the backing that Phil Spencer's got now for everything is literally boundless compared to what it was previously. But you've got to give props to Phil, because if it wasn't for him and his ingenuity to go to the board several years ago and pull Microsoft out of the dirt, which was really, really bad after the 360 era and that Xbox One launch, to the point of nigh on breaking point, to where it is now. It's absolutely resounding. Like it shouldn't have got that way in the first place. But for Phil to really drag it out the dirt and get the backing of all of the founding kind of board members at Microsoft to be able to push on and get Xbox to where it needs to be now, which is the entire gaming division for Microsoft, as opposed to just a segmented console section. Absolute applause. Like that E3 literally capped off where it should have been. They did what they needed to do. The fans were buzzing. Even though they tried to temper expectations, I think they overshot expectations.
Yeah.
I went into it. A lot of people, of course, and rightly so, said, I don't want to temper my expectations. I've been waiting too long. And it's a valid point. We have been waiting too long for Microsoft to really step out of it. And I think right now, we've only just seen the tip of the iceberg. That E3 was just the tip. They've got the way it was presented was perfect. The way it was just game after game after game, trailer after trailer after gameplay after gameplay, release date, Game Pass. It was just insane. And I think he did sum it up perfectly. Like, the mood hasn't been as good as 360, but I think the state of Xbox hasn't been as good as when it originally launched until it is now.
I absolutely agree. I think you're definitely onto something with that. And of course, yeah.
Peter Moore never brought out Steve Ballmer. So
no, thank goodness. Yeah, well, I mean, listen, those guys were good in their own right during their own days. But what Phil, first of all, that's a great point, Dutch. Bringing that up with Phil Spencer and Satya Nadella, basically solidifying the drive and the importance of Xbox within Microsoft. It isn't just a little brother anymore. Xbox has been moved up to the big boy table in what drives Microsoft as a corporation, and that is something important, and I'm glad you brought that up. Shandi, let's get your opinion on this. You know, these words by anyone else may mean less. If you're talking about, like, coming from like a PlayStation guy, like a Jim Ryan, for instance. But when Phil Spencer speaks, he obviously, and I said something in the green room to Kay Asante, and I think Kay Asante will agree with me. Those words specifically that were used by Phil Spencer tells me, right? I'm the one, and I don't want to take Kay Asante's way of the way saying it. It spoke to me because it seemed to me he understands us. And I think that as someone as high up the ladder in the corporate scheme of things, for him to be able to speak that way and get me, and I'm a 50-year-old man. I'm not a kid. I'm not enamored with Phil Spencer. He's a man just like me, probably just about the same age, maybe even potentially even younger for that matter. But it's what he said that got me as an Xbox fan. He understood me. How do you feel Xbox came out of E3 2021? And do you agree with Phil?
Well, we got two things. We got facts going on. We got feelings. So I'll start with facts.
Right.
The thing that Dutch said is a definitive fact, right? Obviously, Xbox is doing well because we saw Satya move up. We saw a couple of years ago Phil move up. So obviously Microsoft is saying, hey, you guys are bringing in money, so the company's behind it. Now let's go into feeling. Off the show, to me, the show was a 9. Nobody has heard my prediction or how I felt about it because I haven't been on the shows, but the show was a 9 to me, 9 out of 10. The format was a 10 out of 10.
Yes.
And what I'm talking about is the first thing you get at the E3 is games after games after games. Like, when I got to the end, I started getting sad because I knew we were running out. Then what made the format a 10 out of 10 for me was when they did the show with Paris, who killed it.
Paris complete. I gotta be honest with you. If he's not hired by Microsoft,
Oh, I'm sure they're in talks now. Like, I'm sure
Dude,
they're in talks now.
let me tell you something. Killing it is the best way possible. I think he just completely knocked it out of the park. I agree, but continue.
And doing that like in-depth show for us people who want to, because like I watched E3 itself 3 times. I watched Harris show twice.
Those are rookie numbers.
Just to get it in. So if this new format, this is Microsoft, if you're listening, which I'm sure you are, this is your new format. Stick this landing every single time. Do the show where it's just games after games after games. Then do your second show where you do your in-depth analysis.
Yes.
Bring on like special guests and everything. Keep them separate just like that. Do it every single time. You will get 9 out of 10s, 10 out of 10s every single time. I swear to it. But going on about that, the feelings thing is being Xbox fans, no matter how hype we get, there's always either whether it be media or whether it be like a hiccup of something that was misconstrued on how it was said, there's always something to try to turn it into a negative. What I've been noticing is my feeling to the negative tweaks, what used to bother me like 4 years ago, because I wasn't completely sure of where we were going with Xbox. When those negative things happen now, I just completely brush them off because I know what Phil has planned. He said what he had planned years ago. I love it when people were like, we don't know what Xbox is doing. I was like, he literally said what he's going to do. He said it's a 3-part plan and he broke it down and he has executed it every step of the way.
I mean, listen, you're onto something with that. Again, when he took over, he went out there and he said, "This is what I want. This is my plan. This is what I want to do." He has delivered on that plan tenfold. Specifically, and one of the most important aspects of gaming is, of course, games, right? Like that's super, super important. And here we are. Listen, folks, I know you're gonna hate me for this, right? You're gonna say, "Boom, you sound like a broken record." But I gotta talk about it again because I keep the notes close. Because Shandi, you said this was a 9 out of 10. I originally scored it a 9 out of 10, and I wind up after watching it in 4K, right along with Everborn Saga, who's right here, right?
Talk about it.
We gave it another point up. We gave it another half point, making it 9.5 out of 10, and it was worth it. But think about this for a second, folks. On to what Phil Spencer said. They pulled off one of the biggest shows. They logistically saved E3. E3 was a barn fire. When you're comparing apples to, oranges, right? When you talk about what the other guys did and what Xbox did, right? You're talking first class, talking about, dollar store, right? That's how a lot of these shows seemed. They were thrown together. And again, I understand COVID is a big problem, and it has been and will continue to have affected and will, of course, continue to affect development. But the way Microsoft pulled it off without almost every banger that they already let us know was out there. Hellblade 2, Indiana Jones, Fable, Perfect Dark, Motorsport, Avowed, Compulsion Games, Gears 6, Everwild, and State of Decay 3. Those games weren't there, folks. Those games are coming. And they're probably further, not as far as we think they are. We got some new IPs. And we got basically the fervor of the community was even the PlayStation gamers tip their hat. Everborn, let's go to you first on this, brother.
Thank you.
Hearing what Phil has to say, do you think that he gets us just based on that statement? I mean, what are your thoughts on on exactly what he had to say?
Every time Phil comes out, you can tell that he understands who he's talking to, and a lot of the times, like you said, Shandi, a lot of the times people try to misconstrue what he says, even though he's very clear. Now, I want to give you an example of this because we've seen this before. The difference now is that they can't. But remember when he said, we want to support, we don't want to leave people behind, and for 1 to 2 years,
Yes.
we want to support the people who invested in Xbox One. And then everybody made it like what are they doing? They're leaving things behind. And that's not what he said. He just said for 1 to 2 years, like in every generation, we're going to support the previous platforms because it's not a hard cutoff. Right. And what happens with Phil is he keeps telling you the truth. Yes. And people can't handle the truth. Right. No. It's very serious. He will look at the competition and he will say, I'm going to punch you in the face. Right. And they don't believe it. And then he punches them right in the face. Right. So but what really happens, and Dutch, you are absolutely correct. Phil's magnum opus was bringing gaming, having Microsoft focus on gaming as a core pillar of the company itself, right? There is Office, there is Windows, there is cloud, and there is now gaming, right? Gaming was a side project before. Now it is a core pillar of the business. And this is why you see all the investment you see into gaming. And this is something we have never seen. We have never seen a company at the scale of Microsoft with the wherewithal to bet so much into this industry and hobby that we love. So we should have known this 3 years ago, and people keep pretending that this is not what's coming, but it's just a slow moving train that is moving sort of right towards us. So 360 days, I understand that, and I felt that, and we've been saying that here at PTG for a while, that this feels like the 360 days, and he knows it, and he's probably heard us specifically say that, but I'm sure he knows it. He's been in there, and what that means is there is a certain confidence and swagger, and there's a difference between being cocky and being confident, and I think the moves that you are seeing them make are moves of people that are clear and confident and focused on what they are doing, right? Because you know how debilitating it is to put your best into a thing and try to do a thing, and then everybody's like, oh, it's trash, you got no games, oh, this and all that. But now they can look at all the hard work they've done over the last year, 2 years, 3 years, whatever it is to get to this point, and say, oh, people are starting to get it. And you know what that gives them confidence to swing even harder, to run faster, to jump higher, right? So that in itself, and just one other point that I want to touch on, right? And this is what Shandi and what Dutch said. And what you said, Boom, Phil told you. He told you the truth of what they were doing, right? And some people didn't want to catch up. They wanted to pretend like it was the end of the world. And he told you, and he didn't lie to you. There's a difference between making a promise and trying but failing versus straight up lying, like willfully lying to you, right? And we see that in other places where straight up lies are told. And all I'm saying is it is a sight to behold when you have that level of transparency where we say, hey, you can call it marketing, you can call it whatever, you can say corporations don't care, you can say whatever you want. As a customer, there's one company right now that is just laying the cards on the table and saying, hey, make your decision. I don't want you to make a decision based off of lies. I don't want you to make a decision based off assumptions that I know are not true, but I'm not going to say anything. Here's what we're doing, and you can come along for the ride when you are ready. And that is why you see all of this, and people are starting to get it. People are starting to trust those words. You didn't understand it before, but now you will see it. So Phil is right. This is better than the 360 days. And I said this was their best show in the last decade, right? Yep. It could be more, but at minimum, best show in the last decade. And this is my last point, and then we can move on, or you can move on to the next person. Remember when I because everybody was like, oh, Xbox needs to do their own state of play, or they need to do their own Nintendo Direct. And I said, no, Xbox needs to be Xbox. And Xbox being Xbox means, what did they do? They've showed us a new format for how you present shows, whether they do it at E3 or their own event. Games up front. That's what people want to do. Not a lot of talking heads. And then you have your after show, and then you have your other events. We've had an event for it. We had the Paris show, which was amazing, but we also had a Halo multiplayer show. Mm-hmm. And then we also had a Forza show. And yesterday we had a Sea of Thieves show, right? Crazy. So they're doing individual shows right afterwards, but give you the quick cut. So for everybody that's like, oh, I don't know what I'm getting, I don't know. Here are those things, right? So that's Xbox being Xbox, and Sony can do their state of play, which is great. I love those. Nintendo Directs are hit or miss, right? But my point is, let each company do their thing. And now I think we're in a place where we are seeing Xbox be great again. And we're at the beginning of a bare knuckle boxing match. And hold on to your butts, folks. It's going to get good. So
yes, absolutely. Real quick, before I bring Kay Asante into the conversation, got to thank a couple of people. Dan Lazaro drops the first super chat of the evening. Thanks, Dan, for the support. Super appreciated. He says this after dropping a $5 super chat. Never been into Halo, but that E3 trailer got me hyped. I just started the Master Chief Collection and working my way through all the campaigns. You know what? Wow. Good on you, dude.
I wish I was him.
I'm almost
jealous.
I
wish I was experiencing it.
Like I am jealous of you, Dan, because you know something, to experience all of that Halo goodness before we get, hopefully you can get through it because there's a lot to play. But man, that dude, good on you, man. First of all, thanks for the super chat. Thank you for the support. But that is, dude, congratulations. And good friend, generous friend of the show, Gary Duddle, drops a bomb super chat of $10 and says, I can't understand why Diablo 2 Resurrected was in the Xbox showcase. Do you think it will be announced closer to release that it's coming to Game Pass? Yes, I actually do.
Yeah,
Gary.
I think the remaining 3 games that weren't in Game Pass will be in Game Pass.
I do. You know what? Listen, they obviously have a connection with Blizzard. Obviously someone works there that used to work at Microsoft. I don't know. Maybe that's a connection or not. But I think that, yes, I agree with you, Dutch. I think all 30 games, those remaining 3 will eventually find their way into Game Pass. And maybe at some point, maybe the deals weren't done, right? Maybe the money bags didn't back up the truck yet. I think that's coming. But Kay Asante, let's get your opinion on and exactly what you said. For someone who brought toast into the conversation, I think you have a lot to say. What do you think about what Phil Spencer had to say?
Honestly, I think this is just he's basically throwing red meat to the base at this point. It's already basically a foregone conclusion that he knew the answer to the question before he asked it. But do I agree with him 100%? I'm an Xbox gamer. I mean, that's all. That is definitely a known commodity at this point. I've been an Xbox gamer since technically before the Xbox. If you think about it, I owned a Dreamcast. Dreamcast ran on Windows CE. Yes. That was their first foray into console of all time. That's right. Console. That was technically their first ever working with a console. So some of us have been customers of Xbox since before they had Xbox, right?
And that's why we want them to buy Sega.
That's a different conversation, my friend. But I hear you. And even back when during that Dreamcast era and everything else, everyone knows them as the power user narrative, right? That started to build. That's been building since forever. They had hard drives when nobody had hard drives. They had Ethernet ports when no one even knew that Ethernet ports were a thing that someone needed to have. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, exactly. But until the 360 era, they hadn't really penetrated the mainstream media, the mainstream zeitgeist, but they did. In 360 specifically for both good and bad reasons, right? Obviously, we all know what the bad reason was. It was the red rings of death, right? But even there, even there, they found a way of turning like lemons into lemonade, if you will, right? So folks show up, right? The reason why the 360 era was so successful is because PlayStation was super cocky. We all remember that, right? They were a year late to the party. So basically a bunch of 360 games became exclusive, right? Even when the red rings started becoming a thing and it was hugely popular, everyone knew it. You saw it on your mom and pop news site, right? Oh, this is what's happening. Even then, that showed gamers the potential where they were going. Because look at what happened recently, right? You have Google, the only other company who you'd think has the enough clout and enough monetary value to compete. The minute the times got tough, what'd they do? We're taking our ball, we're going home. Bye-bye, right? Xbox spent billions of dollars that year. Back when everyone on this panel has rightfully already said so. Back when at that point, they didn't have a seat at the table. They were the side project. They were Skunkworks project. Yeah. But still, they spent the billions necessary to make all those red ring issues right. That's where that idea of pro-consumer moves, being transparent, that's when all the little kindling started. Yes, there were still a lot of executives at that time in the place that, were very antithetical to the actual message. It needed some years to fester. It needed some people to be gotten rid of, speaking of good old Donnie, among others.
Good old Donnie D.
needed to kick rocks before that.
Remember Jay Allard?
Hey! Don't hate on Jay Allard. Jay Allard was a visionary.
No, he's the guy.
Was a visionary.
That's my guy.
He was the
Jay
guy.
Allard.
Indeed. Yes. So I remember that time.
I'm one of those people who is not really on the Peter Moore train. Like, he's great, but I think at that time, the reason Xbox One ended up where it did is because they overly relied on
second party deals. And the second party. Yes. And you're absolutely right.
And that's why this generation is better than the 360 generation.
Oh, I agree with you. I agree with you. Yes. Peter Moore was a salesman. He was good at selling. Yeah. Look at my tattoo. We all still don't believe that was real, but still, it was a really great. It was a really great
marketing at its finest.
Man, it happened. Even people at home on E3 watching E3 just like threw their hands in the air because it was just a moment. So he was good at that, right? But that's all they were getting in that 360 era, right? Now, clearly you can see all that is being invoked again, right? They're at a place now where you can finally see that they have the management they needed, they have the leadership they needed. Yeah. There's a level of confidence that has not been in this company for years, like years. You can tell they are fully invested in doing what they need to do. So even though they still are kings of clutching defeat from the victories, from the jaws of victory, right? They keep hitting those rakes that keep screwing them up at every moment, right? They are still succeeding. Now, will that make Xbox dominate this time around? I'm a little pessimistic on that. That remains to be seen still. And even there, I think based on the classic metrics of, console sold and games sold and all that, that may not necessarily get them where they need to go. But I do think that since they've changed their business model, aka the whole Game Pass situation, that will lead to very interesting outcomes for both them and the public. Because the public seem to be, for lack of a better word, sheep. They go where you tell them to go. You tell them that the console sales are the most important thing, and they're the most important thing because you said so, right? Cerny said hard drive speed will change your life. Now all of a sudden it'll affect graphic quality, because he said so. It takes time and it takes visual seeing what's happening. All of a sudden, like you guys have aptly pointed, 27 games, like in Game Pass. Those 3 are not, but give it time. Yakuza Like a Dragon wasn't in Game Pass. They waited till myself and Mr. Boomstick had to buy it first before they put it in Game Pass. But still, it's in there now. Now the whole collection is complete. There's just no excuse not to play those games. They are brilliant, amazing. I saw somebody in the chat talking about Atomic Heart. I feel like I'm the only human being on earth that has been following that game for like 4 years. I've seen so many videos of that thing, and to see it at the Xbox stage, that blew my mind. When we initially came here and had that conversation of what are the scores like, initially I was 8.5. Everybody keeps saying that. Initially you were this, and then I sat back and I watched it. The 4K rewatching, and as Dutch correctly pointed out, 2-3 viewings, nah, that's rookie numbers. After the third, fourth, fifth viewing, you were like, yeah, man, this thing was great.
Say,
My score increased.
I've even watched everybody else's reactions back. I've watched
Yes,
yours back,
yes,
Boom. I've watched
yes.
ILP. I've watched
Exactly.
Colt and Game On. I've watched everybody.
Yes.
Everybody. I
And
just want to see everybody's reactions.
That's right. And every time I watch somebody I trust's reaction to it, some new points are brought up, and I'm like, yeah, man, I didn't even think of that before. And the score just rises for me. At right now, here I sit, I'm rounding a 9.5. You know, there were certain parts where I was like, I wish I had gotten this, I wish I'd gotten that. But in the general scope of it, I'm just so happy to see, even with COVID changing plans, even with, you know, all of the narrative around, they are at the place, like you pointed out there, Everborn. They are at that confidence level from even before 360 days. So yes, I think that he's absolutely right. You know, I'm just all I am here right now is I'm holding my breath for not another unforced error. You know, oh yeah, we accidentally pressed this button and now Game Pass costs twice the price or something. That's the only thing we don't need right now. But yes, they are on all cylinders. You know, I think you're absolutely right. Saying that it's the 360 era is actually like doing it a disservice. It's far better because they're now at the full clip. They're basically sitting at the table. They get access to the wallet like everybody else in the company does. It's better than it's ever been. That's my opinion on it. Yeah.
I mean, listen, what a way to open up the show. I mean, 36 minutes in, we have almost 400 people here. Hopefully you folks stay around because we have some doozies of some really awesome topics, lots of banter coming. Real quick, got to give a shout out to Curry Cosmos in the chat, and he reminded me that there are 2 people at Blizzard that used to work at Xbox. I forgot that Rod Ferguson went over there and of course is working on Diablo 4, but could have had his hand in Diablo 2, the remake. And of course, Mike Ybarra, who was gracious enough a couple of years ago to jump on my show during one of our charity streams. And Mike,
quick, Boom.
Yes, sir.
Real quick, just when you said that brought up a huge epiphany. Now here's the geek brain working real quick.
Let's hear it. Let's hear it.
So Microsoft had people leave the company, go to Nokia, and then they became CEOs of Nokia. And then what happened? They bought Nokia, and they all came right back. Now you have two pretty big executives. Go.
Well, I don't know if I
saying they're
appreciate your
buying them.
analogy.
I'm not sure they're buying them.
But hey, afterwards.
Well, but this was a different time, my friend. This was a different time. We're
After
talking about a
they
different
said,
Microsoft.
"See it, man, Steven Elop over there." I remember.
Yes, you know what happened. He came, he sniped him, and now what's happening? Now you
Now
got multiple. Now you have multiple agents from Microsoft at that company. I'm just saying. I'm sorry.
They could be. Listen, you conquer from within. That's the old.
That's right.
You know what I'm saying? So, real quick, Drawn TJ, generous friend of the show, he drops an outstanding $5 super chat. Says, "Love listening to you, Boom, and the panel while he's camping outside. Good on you. Enjoy your vacation, brother, and thank you for the support as always, there, dude." And Dan Lazaro, not to be denied, another outstanding $5 of chat and says this: Xbox is doing amazing with the public right now. Just look at their YouTube views over the past few months. Their views and engagement is killing it. Yeah, indeed. As a matter of fact, I should have put it in there. I'll bring it in a second. If you look at how social media was normally at E3, Nintendo rules all. Not this E3, folks. Not this. When they would talk about, trending on social media at peak performance, Xbox has outdone even the glorious and very popular Nintendo. But listen, folks, we got to get on to topic number 2, and this one is going to be good. Now, listen, I decided to bring this up because I started reading articles from the gaming media, who there are many of them that I consider friends that have been on this show, that will be coming back on this show. But there are some that I don't pay much attention to because they use clickbait to generate a conversation. And a lot of the times that conversation is built on false narratives, which is what we're going to talk about on the back end of tonight's show. But this particular topic is something that I think is relevant of a conversation coming out of E3. and that is with Sony's complete no-show and the $70 per first-party gaming becoming a mainstream media issue. Jim Ryan and Team PlayStation find themselves right now in the crosshairs of social media. Now, what's even more interesting is that as great as Ratchet Clank is, and I literally right before the show was playing it, I'm halfway through. I'm definitely gonna platinum that game. Right now, though, no one is talking about that game, and I'm not saying it because it's anything less than an incredible Sony first party game, but it's because Xbox is just dominating the media conversation. Now, there are two pieces of conversations that are interesting. Sony's $70 price point versus Xbox Game Pass and what's coming out in 2021 is really is something that we're going to get into. But of course, we're also going to be talking about all of the Xbox Game Pass subscribers, that are going to be treated to the remainder of 2021. That is going to be one of the biggest years for Xbox. And like I said, a couple of years ago, when Xbox wasn't cool, when they were the whipping boy of social media, more specifically the gaming media, right? When you mentioned Halo, when you mentioned Gears, when you mentioned Forza, people were like, they've done that already. But this year we're getting Halo Infinite. And based on that, listen, the single player is going to be okay. I think we're going to be treated to something special. But what we've seen at E3 and then that deep dive in multiplayer, folks, Halo is back in a big way. And then, of course, voted by the same media that shunned Microsoft all those years ago. What was the game of the show? Was it a Sony game? No, it wasn't, because Sony didn't show up. It was Forza Horizon 5, game of the show. Why? Well, you saw on the screen what I did. But the question that I have for the panel, is there a real underlying problem here? Or has Xbox truly turned a corner with both gamers and the media, especially now that the $70 price point, there are mainstream journalists that are writing about this, that's saying that this $70 price point could no longer be ignored when Xbox Game Pass is doing what they're doing. Dutch, what do you think about this?
Yeah, so we'll cover the price tag and Game Pass, because I think obviously there's still a misconception among primarily fanboys, not people with their head screwed on. But $70 versus Game Pass, the reason it's an issue is because there is an option there on Xbox's front. When a game goes into Xbox Game Pass, that does not mean that the game is no longer for sale. That game is very much for sale at a price point.
Really? You don't say?
Point, yeah, 100%, 100%. But
I wonder what that buy button next to my game was.
Not only do you get to play that game in Xbox Game Pass, but you also get a nice little discount just for being a Game Pass member. So you're still getting that AAA game, but a discount. That's for being a Game Pass member. So it gives you incentive to be on the service in the first place. However, if you do not want to purchase that game, you can't play it. It's options. Options are never a bad thing, and this is what some people need to remember. The $70 price tag. Now, Sony very well could come out, but they do have a service. They just choose not to support it correctly. That's PlayStation Now. They do have Azure servers, which they've partnered with Xbox and Microsoft to use, which they choose not to do. It's sitting there unused. If they want to go and implement that service correctly to give their fan base something to use, then they can do. The talking point really here is just the sheer amount of games that are going into there. You've also got the counter argument from some people that state, oh, it's in Game Pass, so it's fodder. Or it's in Game Pass, so the quality's not hope. Or we don't pay $70, so it's not quality. Price has never dictated quality. I've purchased some games for full price in the past, and they've been absolutely horrific. Does that make it quality just because I paid good money for it? No. What makes a game good? A good game. That can be a $10 game. It can be 20, 30, 40, 50, 70, 100. No matter what you pay for that game, the game is only going to be as good as the game is. It's never going to get better because of its price. It's never going to get worse because of its price. You're telling me if Ratchet and Clank goes down to $20, that's still a $70 game? No. The overall value of that game is down A, to the person, and B, to the quality of the game itself. If that game is quality, it's worth the price. Again, Game Pass as a service, they're trying to do the best of both worlds. They're giving people options. You're also getting the ability to buy anything that's in Game Pass and also get a discount and get perks and get to play them all day one. And even the people that choose to purchase games like
Returnal is $50 now in the United States.
I saw it.
Perfect price point.
Yeah,
perfect price point. Forgive me. Continue.
Yeah, no problem. Yes. But it's a case of, and everyone has their price point. Some people might say, right, well, this isn't a $70 game. The point is, I think some people are trying to make is that's not $70 to them. Everyone's got a value on something or what they believe something is worth. And some people need to stop taking offense to people's comments when they say, I don't believe that's a $70 game, because that is their opinion on what they value. And if somebody's coming out and saying, that's not a $70 game, that's not a $70 game to them. It might be to you. If you're willing to pay that and you think it is worth it to you, brilliant. Good for you. But everyone's got a value on something. If that value is not theirs to have and they want to wait for that price to come down before investing in it, that's their money. You can't tell somebody else what to do with the money. But the Game Pass scenario is just providing options to people. The reason the media are starting to pick up on it now is because the sheer volume of games that are going into that, the sheer amount of second and third party people that actually want to be actively part of Game Pass because they've seen the engagement numbers there. And people need to remember now, it is about engagement. The reason it's about engagement is because people want their games to be played for longer, not just get it. A couple of months down the line, it's just a second thought. It's like, oh, did you play that game that came out in February? Oh, it's now June and everyone's forgot about it and they're on to the next thing. No, they want that game to be in that service so that more people can continually jump on it and keep playing it and keep playing it and keep playing it. And more people get to experience it. And we've seen that from Sega. We've seen that from smaller studios like Wired Productions pumping out little games like Descenders, etc. And their numbers going up like 300, 400% just because they're in Game Pass. Sales going up 3 times the amount that they were prior to being in Game Pass. It's just, that's the reason the media are starting to take notice of Game Pass. It's because of just the sheer volume of things that are going in there. And you can't say it's fodder because it isn't fodder. It's simple as that. That's my little rant about it, personally.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. And I think that people that try to use the fodder conversation are just being disingenuous, to be honest with you, because the thing that I think many people, and Shandi, I got to bring you in on a conversation right now, you know, walking away from E3, right? You thought, wow, 27 of the 30 games are in Game Pass? Like, I heard people have conversations on the interweb, right? How did we survive prior to Game Pass? Like, when you think about how many games you're going to be buying, right, that you would have had to pay for if you're not a part of the script. And again, if you want to buy them, like Dutch said, you can use, there's an option there to buy them. You don't have to rent the games, right? You can buy them if you want, and you get them at a discount. But with that said, Shandi, when you start seeing the gaming media, and I'm going to read a quote here directly from Paul Tassi. Now, Paul Tassi, if you don't know who he is, he writes for Forbes. Now, Paul Tassi, in the past, especially during the era where I didn't have my own shows and I was on Crossfire, he had a loaded gun ready to go after Xbox on every front for everything. Now, he wrote this. PS5's Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart was great, but was it worth $70? Right? That's one article. The second one is, let me see if I can find it real quick here. This is Paul Tassi on Twitter, right? Now, this is just one journalist, right, talking about how the $70 price point, and that's where I came up with the topic, was something that could no longer be ignored when comparing Sony's PlayStation versus Xbox and Game Pass. What are your thoughts on that, Sean D?
So the thing with the $70 price point is pretty much the same thing it would be as if it was a $60 price point. It really doesn't matter what it's like a psychological thing, right? So at $60 or $70, since it's $70 for PlayStation, you have to, when you buy it, you're committing. And what Game Pass, the flip side is what Game Pass allows you to do is to play around without committing. And so what you're seeing is that, remember how people used to say 1080p makes you a better gamer?
Yes,
well,
I sure do.
Game Pass actually does make you a better gamer because you don't have that bar to entry. You're trying out so many more games that you would have never bought.
Yes.
Because you didn't want to take the chance of, I don't care if it was $20 here, $30. That stuff starts to add up. And if you keep getting like bogus games, you're like, oh man, I'm just like burning money. But because you have Game Pass, you actually feel like you're robbing Xbox. Like when they showed that it was 27 out of the 30 were going to be on Game Pass, I immediately thought in my head, like, man, I'm robbing the crap out of these dudes. And it's like they don't even know it. But of course they know it. They know what they're doing. It's a psychological thing. They want you to go in there, try all these different games. Like let's take, for example, I'm playing Like a Dragon, right? And I'm playing it off of Game Pass. I'm going to buy that game because I feel like it's a disservice if I don't. Because I'm enjoying it so much, I feel like I should pay for it to help support the developers, which honestly, they could take it or leave it whether or not I buy it. They just want me playing it because Game Pass is the ultimate marketer. It markets everyone's games. A lot of people who are trying out their first games were new developers. They would rather you play the game in Game Pass, never buy it, right? Learn their name, know that they made that game, remember it the next time when they come out with their second game. So you can be like, oh man, I played their first game. Their first game was pretty good. I'm going to just buy the second game because I've already got a track record with them. Now, speaking of track records, that's why PlayStation still does okay with the $70 price. Because they have a proven track record, people are way more susceptible to giving them $70 for a game without having to feel that feeling of being like gun shy. Whereas let's say Xbox didn't have Game Pass, and let's say that current gen games for Xbox were now $70. People will be a lot more vitriol with how they would feel about Xbox first party being $70 because they'll look at Xbox's past and feel like, well, they haven't made these 90 plus games on a regular basis. Yeah, you got your Forzas, those will still get bought, Halos will still get bought, Gears will still get bought. But your newer games that are just like brand new IP, a lot of those would sit on the shelf until deals came about. So I can't say that the $70 price tag really hurts PlayStation because they have that. But what will happen is this. When Xbox starts coming out with their new games and those games start doing really well on Metacritic and they start getting critical acclaim, but at the same time, all those games can be played in Game Pass, PlayStation people start going to be like, hey man, we got like PlayStation Now. Can we start putting some of these old games, or can we start getting some of our games in there so we don't have to pay as much? I mean, these guys are getting quality games now for $15 or $10 a month. So that's how I stand on that.
You know what? Great stuff as always. And I have to apologize because we totally forgot Mag. Mag, did we get you on the first topic? Uh-oh.
No.
Yeah, he I think he was having problems because I didn't hear him the whole show. We'll get him back here in a second. But you know, yeah, I mean, Sean D, I think you're onto something. I definitely think that PlayStation has leeway, right? Listen, I'm playing Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart. Yes, here's Mag. Mag, what's up, brother? Are you back?
The hell was that all about?
I listen, I don't know. Listen, Mag, first of all, I owe you an apology, brother. We forgot you on the first topic.
I know it's okay, but you started flowing in the next one. I'm like, it's okay. Boom will get me on the next one. It's not a problem. But
Well,
you know the
what?
funny thing is, when you said my name again, I'm like, oh, he's getting to me, and I clicked exit instead of like unmuting my mic. So you're probably sitting there going, Mag, are you there, brother? And
No,
I'm
no.
like,
I
sitting there
actually,
going,
you know what I thought happened? I said he took his ball and went home. That's
no,
exactly what
God, no,
happened.
Jesus. No, like I had my mouse, the cursor was on the X of the top right corner. I didn't even realize it. So when you called me, I'm like, oh, here we go. Click. And I'm like, oh, no, that's not what I wanted to do. Anyways.
You know what, Mag? Yeah, let's bring you in on the conversation,
all right.
Okay? Because
yes,
obviously, I want you to kind of just make your comment on the first topic, and then we're going to transition over to topic number 2. Now, the first topic, just so you're aware, is what were your thoughts on Phil Spencer's statements regarding how he felt the gamers looked upon this E3, as well as his other executives and the first party team? Like, everyone was packed with energy.
Yeah, and you know what that screams to me? I'll keep this brief here because I was listening to everybody else. They basically said everything I was going to say, but I will say this: it showed me confidence.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? It showed confidence in what they've done, their product, and it shows that all of their hard work that they've been working. We talked about this pre-show where they were talking about what they've been saying and what we understood as Xbox fans. We've known that they were going to be doing this for the last 4 years. We've known this. Everybody else
tell people too.
What's that?
Everybody. I said we tried to tell everybody.
Well, and we got laughed at.
Listen.
And so did Phil. But you know what? You got to say this about Phil. That man must have the patience of a Shaolin monk. Okay? He's like floating 2 feet above a rock in the Himalayas. Because, I mean, can you imagine the last 4 years of hearing people talking? Because he listens. Can you
imagine his Twitter feed? Oh
my God, in heaven. Can you imagine? He knows what's going on. He's in the community. He's got the ears and eyes of the gamers. He speaks to them. He's in party chats. He's playing Destiny 2 the night before E3 for crying out loud in a party. Yeah. Yes, I was kind of creeping on him. I wanted to see what he was up to. But anyways, that's besides the point. But the thing is, he's got the eyes and ears, so he knows what everybody's saying. Xbox fans and, of course, Xbox detractors as well. He's hearing all that. And the fact that he had to keep his composure within those 4 years. But when I first saw the giddiness and the excitement and the confidence of Phil is when they had that sit down after the Bethesda, the ZeniMax acquisition. You remember that? It was, I think it was Todd Howard there, Pete Hines was there, and then of course Phil. Remember they were sitting on those big squashy chairs and having a little conversation, and Phil was laughing like a schoolgirl. He was so excited. He was like slapping his knee, and he was talking about this. He was talking about how he's excited for the id software, for their tech, for their engine, the id, the id software engine, whatever. And he's talking about that and all the things he's excited about. He was like an 8-year-old boy.
Yeah,
and
he was enjoying himself. Yeah,
he was enjoying the hell out of himself because everything that he's worked hard for, everything that he has said, he has nailed to a T. And now this is the dance. Okay, he went to go buy the suit 4 years ago. He got his hair done. Okay, he got everything ready, and he's ready to go. He's good. And now the limo pulls up. He finally shows up to the party, and my God, that guy just John Travolta'd all over that dance floor. And what did he do? Victory. In his mind, victory. In our minds, victory. I'm not saying victory over another. That's not what it's about. Okay, let's be serious. These people are like, they got to defeat the other one. No, they don't. They just have to make the marketplace healthy for everybody to succeed and do well, because that's all they want. And who wins in the end? We do. The customers win in the end when the competition is good, fierce, and somewhat level with each other, because then they're going to keep trying to outdo each other. And what's going to happen? Again, who benefits? Us, the customer. So what I saw there is that I saw not revitalized. I can't say that because he never really was down in the dumps. He was just holding back, waiting for that moment. Like in Braveheart when they're sitting there and all the horses coming, and he's going, hold, hold, and they're all standing there as the English are riding up on him. That's what he was waiting for, and then finally got the moment to pick up that spear. And so, that's what I saw. Anyways, and I just wanted to go briefly on that. But yeah, let's get into this next topic here. So what we got going on?
Okay, so the next topic of conversation is the $70 price point.
Yes.
Versus the Game Pass conversation. But that's not really the question. I brought this up because Paul Tassi did an incredible article regarding that the PlayStation $70 game is something that we can no longer ignore. Like it is becoming more and more apparent that there is going to be eventually people are going to look at the deal on this side of the fence and say, I can no longer support this $70 shenanigans. And again, I take nothing away from what they're making over there. I buy all their first party games. I love them. But we cannot deny that even the media is now starting to take notice that $70 per game, when you look again, I bring this question to you specifically because of what you pay, and you have gone on record on saying, I mean, what are your thoughts on this? Do you think Sony is going to have to answer?
Okay, they're going to see. That's a tough question, man, because they don't necessarily have to answer Game Pass. However, what they are doing is that they're going to lose. This may be a controversial thing to say, but I believe this to be true. They are going to lose the casual market, which is something that dominated in the PS4 era on the PlayStation. They're going to lose that market. And because the thing is, it's not about, okay, if I look at like this year, for example, right? I did not buy Returnal because I wasn't interested in it. Not because I couldn't afford it. I didn't want it. I wasn't. And now this is the interesting thing. If there's a game that you're even remotely on the fence with, and this is something I brought up in other shows that we've done before as well. If you're remotely on the fence about a PlayStation game, you will not buy it at $105 Canadian.
There you go.
Okay. You will not say, let's see how it goes.
No.
Are you out of your goddamn mind? Unless you are literally wiping your tears with $100 bills. Ain't nobody doing that. I will bite on a $10 game. I will bite on a $20 game that I've heard from friends. Someone to come to me and be like, hey, yo, man, you got to try this game. It's great. I'll be like, all right, cool. Yeah, $20. All right, let's give it a shot. Like, for example, what was that game, that zombie game, that 4-player zombie game? World War Z. Okay, there was World War Z that came out. I'm like, all right, it was on sale for like $30 before it came to Game Pass, right? And then I said, all right, you know what? I'll bite on that. I had some fun with it for like a week or two, and then that was it. But I didn't really, but if it was $105, and of course, you know how Sony's return policy is. If like you don't like the game, you're screwed, son.
Yeah,
okay, it's over.
Good luck with that.
Good luck with that. That game is now yours, and they'll practically hang the foot. They're like, oh, sorry, there's static. We can't hear you. Click, and they'll hang up on you. You know what I'm saying? So that's what I see with there. But here's the thing. They're going to lose that casual market. And the reason why is because of the consistency. And if you're consistently releasing games at that price. Now, for example, this year, as I was starting to say, now the only game that I'm interested in this year so far, because that's the only game I know about that's coming out this year, is Ratchet & Clank at $70. Well, $105 for me. I have not purchased it yet, but I will. Okay, but here's the thing. That's all that I'm getting this year. I don't mind paying a little more for one game in 1 year because I don't know what else is coming out. But if Sony starts releasing game after game after game and they start, you know what I mean? And they start doing this with this price point, no, I'm not paying $500 for, or almost $500, $420, for like 4 games. That is lunacy. That is 2 years of Game Pass. Yeah. Now, if you actually do the math here, well, just rough math, okay? From E3 up until all those games that they showed are coming out, it's going to cost you less than $200. If you were to pay for even 2 Sony games, that gave you two Sony games. This is going to give you 27. And of course, they haven't announced all the games that are coming yet because I'm still standing on that hill about Dying Light 2. Okay,
yeah,
I still
I'm
think
right
that's I still think that's coming out in Game Pass. The jury's out on Battlefield 2042. We don't know what's going on.
Battlefield has no chance unless it goes in the Game Pass. It's
exactly.
Coming out around the time of Call of Duty and Halo, which is free to play. Call of Duty has Warzone that has an update coming out. There's going to be new. Like how? Anyway, go ahead, Mag.
No. I'm going to piggyback off what you're saying there, brother, because you're absolutely 100% correct. Because the way I see it, no matter how good Battlefield is, and a lot of people say, "Oh man, I can't wait to play it." That game, unless it goes to Game Pass, is dead in the water.
Even because if it's day one, not in Game Pass, I give it a month.
Oh yeah, it'll be there. I'm not buying it. I'm not buying it because, and I love Battlefield. I played every single Battlefield there is out there. I'm not buying it. You know why? Because if it's not in a month, by January, it's going to be in there. Okay,
Yeah.
or maybe by the XO show, they're going to say, by the way, Battlefield's coming to Game Pass or EA Play, whatever the hell it is, which
They
is, of course,
probably just want to get the day one sales.
Yep.
Which is kind of messed up, but
I don't. But here's the thing:
we got to be William Wallace, just
right? Yeah, right. Yeah, you're like out of your mind. Let me tell you something. The thing is also, you got, like you said, Warzone. Then you got the situation with Halo with the free multiplayer. Okay, on top of the fact that the actual main game is going to be in Game Pass. You have got to be out of your mind if you think that someone's going to pay $100+ plus a season pass on top of that to play online only versus, I know people in the chat are going to be like, oh, I'm getting it for the multiplayer. That's fine. That's great. I'm just saying on a grander scale, I don't see that happening. I see it be. I see
paying
it being
more for less. There's no justification of that.
Exactly. And then, like I said, it'd say, why would I pay $100+ for this plus a season pass when I could play the Halo multiplayer for free and I could play the new, and Warzone's coming out with a big update when they launch the new game because we've heard about what's going on with the Call of Duty franchise this year. They're practically slapping together a game with glue and popsicles right now because of what they couldn't get their stuff together. You know what I mean? So it's so what they're going to do, they're going to focus on their strengths. They're going to put a big update for Warzone. Why would you pay all that money unless you're hardcore? That's great. And I'm not saying anything against those people or anything like that. But I'm just saying that going up against those odds, you're dead in the water. Now, the other thing is Dutch said something very interesting. He said, it's not about the price of the games. It's about the value of what the game is. Right. And so someone might pay like I said, $105 for a game and say this game was absolutely worth every penny. I enjoyed my time with it, whatever. You will look at that as an investment that you're okay with, right? Or but that doesn't matter. The thing is, it's got to be about the quality. Sony knows that they have that pedigree, and their games are great. There's no question about it. But if they falter for even, just like I said a little earlier, if they falter even just a smidge, people will balk on that game. And the thing is, even though their games are great, the attach rate of their first-party games, no matter what the meta scores are or how great the games are,
they're low.
Their attach rate versus who actually owns the consoles is ridiculously low. Even their best-selling one was still at only 18%. Okay, 18% of their entire, and that was Spider-Man, if I'm not mistaken.
That's a great point. If you look at what Spider-Man did, right? Spider-Man is probably close, is well over. I want to say, let's just say for shits and giggles, 25 million, right? 25 million versus 114 million consoles.
It's 18%.
Yeah, it's nothing.
And don't forget Black Friday, boom.
Yeah,
Black Friday Spider-Man came bundled for what was it, $299 or $199?
No, $199.
Okay, $199 bundled with Spider-Man. They sold millions that one day alone, and that's when a lot of people got Spider-Man. I got Spider-Man for $20. I got the Game of the Year edition
for £10.
There you go. I did the same thing. I got the Game of the Year edition with all the DLC for $20 Canadian. All right, so it was ridiculous. But the thing is, then you look, you flip around and see, this is what it's all about. It's all about in the consumer's eye. I look at something like AC Valhalla. Okay, I'm a huge Assassin's Creed fan, and on top, I bought the $120, $129 edition, whatever the hell it is, with all the DLC. They've already announced. First of all, I'm going to pour hundreds of hours into the game, and it's not about the hours. It's about your enjoyment of those hours. I will play 300 hours and enjoy every minute of it. And then of course at E3, what they do. First of all, we got, Wrath of the Druids in Ireland. Now you've got this whole thing about the Siege in Paris coming up. Okay, those are 20, 30-hour expansions alone. And then they said, oh, by the way, we're going to let you know what's going on for year 2 of Assassin's Creed Valhalla. I'm like, holy mackerel, did I ever get my money's worth? Yeah. That's 4 games in one that I just got. And so I'm getting my money's worth there. That's fine. But when you're here's the thing, another thing, sorry, I'm just rambling here, but I got to get this all out of my system here. But there's one thing, another thing was with the parents. When you've got kids, and there are millions of us, I'm not the only parent in the world, okay? When you've got kids playing on Xbox or PlayStation, and the kid says, Daddy, can I have the new Lego whatever? And I go over there and it's $105, I'd be like, no, you're not getting that. But they're on Game Pass, and guess what? They're playing that stupid floppy delivery game that they like, Human Fall Flat, whatever the hell else they want to play. They're playing it on Game Pass. Even that, what is it, Rain on Your Parade with the cloud raining on people.
My daughter loves that game.
It's a great game. They're fun little games in there. I wish they had some more Lego games in there. That'd be even better. But the thing is, I'll buy them the Lego games when they're on sale for $10. I'll be like, yeah, here you go. Because you know why? The children are fickle. Okay. And children are going to be the upcoming generation of gamers, and they're all getting into it now. My daughter plays, my son plays, but they're still very young. You think I'm going to spend full price to get them a game on the PlayStation 5 that they might play for 2 days and then just drop it? Parents won't do that. When they find out that you could pay something the exact same price as Netflix, they're like, oh, sold. Or how about the fact when they eventually get either that Fire Stick situation, or now that they're going to be utilizing the old Xboxes and old hardware to use as a vehicle for the cloud, you don't even need to buy a damn console anymore, because they're going to put the Series X blades inside of the xCloud servers, and on and on and on, right? And so now you've removed that $500, $300 paywall for new hardware, and now your kids can just keep playing for $15 a month. There are a lot of people. There's a demographic out there that people don't even really count, because everybody thinks, the 120 million PlayStation 5 owners and the 60 million Xbox owners and the 100 and whatever it is PC owners, they think we're all adults. We're not. There's a lot of kids on there.
Yeah.
Okay. And parents are paying for that stuff. Okay. So, it's not like that group of people is all YouTubers and people listening in the chat. There's all like regular people out there. There's kids, there's whatever else, and their parents are paying for all this stuff. So like, it's very important that that they're looking at price, and they're looking at what they're going to be getting for that price. And when you've got something like that, you know what? Something funny that they said, I think one of the Sony execs said it like last year or 2 years ago. They said that the PlayStation is basically a niche product. By doing what they're doing now, they've just made themselves an even more niche product.
Yeah.
And the only people that are going to be purchasing on a regular basis is going to be the hardcore, and the hardcore is not sustainable for the future of their company.
No, not when
already said it. Yeah.
Yeah, not when they are charged, not when they're a game that Sony makes is $50 million to make. Right? When their games start encompassing the movie, the budget of a big movie, right, for the a film.
Yeah,
they're going to need to make that money back. And you said something, and I really want Kay Asante, and I'll bring everyone on the back end of this to elaborate on that. The people, when you say Sony PlayStation, and you say a $70 price point, right? We all think that it's just us buying it. Like, we're the hardcore, we're the loudest of the bunch, right? Sony's hardcore, they're extremely loud when it comes to their first party games. And again, I said this before, I take nothing away from how incredible they are. But Mag really hit on something when he says they're going to lose the casual market. And I think you're onto something with that. When you tell a casual gamer who buys 2 to 3 games per year, and what do they buy? They buy NBA 2K whatever. They buy a new Call of Duty. They buy an occasional Grand Theft Auto that comes out once every 25 years. Apparently, we're not. I don't know when we're getting 6, but we are getting 5 again. But they buy those types of games because they're the casual audience, and they will buy that one game that their friends at the water cooler are talking about. But when the conversation moves to, it's going to cost said person who doesn't buy games, who doesn't understand what makes gaming the way it is, $76.16 here in New York and $105 in Canada, people will be like, yeah, I don't know about that. You know what I'm saying? But when they find out about Xbox Game Pass, and well, wait a second, I currently pay $21 for my Netflix in HD, right? And I don't mind paying $21, right? They're happy because they have all this content. There's all these movies that they have. They can go and rewatch older movies, but it's all the new content. And you tell that casual gamer, oh, all of Microsoft's big first party bangers, like Halo's in there, and all of these games are in there, the Forza, for $15 a month. You're going, and a $300 system you add to the conversation in the Series S. Once that's on shelves. Yes.
One quick side note that folks keep forgetting. It's not just the games that folks are offering. On average, there are about 280 games in Game Pass today.
There's 400 right now.
400.
Yeah.
Yeah.
With and I was talking about just without the Ultimate. With Ultimate, with the PC, there's like 4. Yeah. But in addition, like the console and PC together is hundreds, substantially hundreds. And folks never talk about that. They're talking about, oh, well, this game, that game. Even if you don't get anything new at all, you have so much that you have to play the minute you sign on to that subscription. I bet you your backlog gets monstrous when you get that subscription.
Dude, it's crazy. But continue with the conversation there. And let me know what you think about that. I mean, when again, we're talking about 70 versus Game Pass. We're the hardcore.
Yeah. So let me address specifically. I'm sorry, please. Finish.
Yeah, no. But when you start getting the gaming media to turn its eyes to Sony, who was the darling from this last generation, now we're on to something.
Yep.
Because the gaming media now are starting to realize that outside of Twitter, outside of online, there is a presence not only of the hardcore but also the casual, and the casual market far exceeds that of us hardcore gamers that are online.
85% of the market is you would think it would be the hardcore. It's not. We're 15% at best.
Yep. And that hardcore market is shrinking all the time because as games get diversified, as more games get in the hands of people, when it's on your phone now, it's on this console, that console, more people jump into the gaming ecosystem, and they don't automatically become hardcore. They join the casual market. Now, some of them will become hardcore as they play, but in general, the casual market grows exponentially. And the more hardcore you make your games, and the higher the requirements, the barrier of entry you make them, you're losing that general audience. Mag, you're absolutely right. And I also want to address what you were talking about with the $70 games and the kids. Bro, you have no idea. Oh my goodness, you have no idea. You were talking about that game with the clouds, yeah. So my daughter can't hold the Xbox controller because she's 4, she's little. But 8-Bit Dough makes this teeny tiny cute little pink controller. It costs like $30. I bought that thing. It cannot connect to an Xbox, but guess what? You can literally just load the Game Pass app on any Google Stick device and then pair the controller to that thing. And now she's playing that game on my TV with a little stick. Yes, I get they're officially going to let it out. That thing has been, for those who know how to do it, it's been everywhere for all this time. Like I always bug Everborn about it. I have the Game Pass app on my Oculus Quest 2, and I play Game Pass games in this huge monitor screen, virtually. Because you can do that. It's an Android app. You can load it to wherever Android lives. They have their eyes in the market. They know the people buying. They know that I am not going to buy my son $70 Nikes until his feet stop growing. I'm not going to buy him $60 games until he starts respecting it. You know what I'm saying?
Right. And now imagine their attention span. Exactly. You know what I'm saying? Like their attention span could be 2 days, 3 days, or 4 months. You don't know. And are you going to jump at that price? Not a chance.
Yes. So, as far as that $70 price point thing, folks argue for it, against it, this and that. I honestly think it's a symptom of a bigger issue. Now, your original question, Boom, was, do you think that the media has finally turned a corner when it comes to all of this conversation? They're starting to give PlayStation, they're taking them to task, right?
Yes.
More and more for the issues that we've had to live with for so long, right? Honestly, I hope so. I hope they've turned a corner. But historical evidence in my pessimistic brain tell me the jury is still out. We know what the gaming media does. They are followers of clickbait. Whatever sells the next paper, whatever gets you to click something is where they are. What's happening here isn't that all of a sudden all the stuff that Microsoft is doing is starting to resonate. It's that they're the only news in town. And they're actually affecting real people. To the point where that contingency of folks that just loves more and more negative news, they are being drowned out by all the, hey, this is on Game Pass now. Oh my God, this is on Game Pass now. Oh my God, they saved E3. Oh my God. There's just no way to come out with more negative news when you're being drowned out by all the positives. And you notice that because now you see, as soon as one of those negative headlines show up, we all go, come on, man. How long has that been going on? For years now. It was baked in the cake. But now, when Paul Tassi goes against his own grain and starts speaking popular about it, we scratch our heads and goes, hey, what happened to this guy? This is new. I like Paul Tassi. I actually follow his stuff on YouTube. I think he genuinely is a genuine dude. He may have had righteous issues in the past, and now obviously he's changing. But in general, they go where the audience likes the vitriol and likes the fight and the drama, and that's why they go there, you know. But to broaden this out a bit, I honestly think that $70 thing is just one piece of a crazy puzzle, and folks just they're so content on this whole back and forth fight that the manufacturers have seen that, and now they're using it. They're using them to fuel that console war. If you stop for a moment and you think for yourself, there are so many things you should take them to task for, because you want them to be the best. I love my Xbox. You know, it's all about the controller for me. I have a PS5, I have an Xbox, I play PS5 as well. But unless the next great exclusive is there, the PS5 collects dust. I'm always on Xbox. Okay. When Xbox starts effing up, I'm the most vocal dude you'll find.
Yeah.
You know, not too long ago, I was scrolling through PlayStation. I see how their library, how they display games. You click on Control, and all of a sudden you're looking at the Control documentary that's telling you all this stuff. All this, I'm like, where's Xbox's version? You know, because at least PlayStation, you know, you buy it per game, so you spend your time on each title because you're spending big bucks, right? So on Xbox's side, because Game Pass has diversified all of that and anyone can enter, it is, to my opinion, they need to make more of an effort to make each game look special and feel special, because the barrier of entry is so low, you run the risk of making them all, another game and another game. They lose their voices, right? So that's one place where I think Xbox could learn from PlayStation. Make each game shine. They do a great job of really pulling that together and doing so. When Xbox screws up, we are all united in our righteous anger and making them change their minds. We've done so multiple times.
Yeah.
On the rare occasion that PlayStation folks do the same thing, hey, guess what? The Vita still has an app store. You're welcome. Why not keep taking these folks to task so that your preferred platform is better? Let me give you some quick examples real quick, okay? People want to take $70. That's one thing. Okay. What about the horrible return policy? No return policy. Zero return policy.
Yeah.
Zero. When this whole Cyberpunk 2077 thing hit, everybody was like, oh, this is who's going to get blamed? It pointed out a very stark thing. Xbox, if you haven't played for more than, 2 hours? I think
2
it's a little
hours.
bit more than that.
Yeah.
2 hours, yeah, or X amount of days, no questions asked. You go, you don't even have to talk to a human. You hit the button, money returned.
There is no Biomutant. Damn it.
Stop it. There is no return policy on PlayStation. None. And when Cyberpunk pointed this out, yes, they were at fault, but they also presented this issue. What did PlayStation do to make it go away? Yeah, you're out of the store now. We're not going to fix our policy. Screw you. You still have to pay for it. If you don't like it, But the people who pointed out the flaw, yeah, you're out of the store now. How about you take them to task for their horrible return policies? Just recently, 2 days ago, I was playing Final Fantasy Remake. After I beat Ratchet & Clank, which, great game, by the way. I still think it could be on PS4.
Stop it.
Hot take. I have beaten the game. Until you do, don't question me. I'm telling you,
70%
beautiful.
with that
It is beautiful, 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 beautiful. But it could be on PS4 as well. It could be tweaked,
and it's probably going to get to PS4 eventually.
Probably,
yeah.
But besides that, so after I was done playing that game, I'm like, Final Fantasy Remake. They just released a new patch, and hey, you get it free. Yes, I had the original version, so I got it for free. If it came in the PlayStation Plus, then I don't get it for free, which is another thing you should take the task for, because their competitor gives you the latest and greatest version just because you have the hardware. It doesn't matter how you got the game. If you have the game, you get the best version of it. You should take them to task about that. Besides that, I'm playing this game. I'm about 30% in. The new version comes out. I'm like, great. Switch, you have to re-download the newest version. We've all heard the whole thing about how PlayStation does the upgrade. I know what I'm doing. It's annoying as hell. Had to deal with it on Avengers. Okay, that's fine. Did everything right. Guess what? Could not upload my save. After about an hour and a half, long story short, guess what? Even in the instance where PlayStation has some infrastructure established, yeah, they didn't tell Square that they had to use that same infrastructure. So Square has their own different upload and download process. Hey, so I had to go re-download my PS4 version.
Aaron Greenberg, if you're listening, Pete Hines, if you're listening,
Mhm.
why don't we just do a quick commercial with "This is how you save games"?
Oh my God.
Yeah, that'd be great.
I mean, how many times must this be a problem? It caught so much virtual ink when Avengers brought it up. That problem still exists today. It took me an hour and a half to be able to get my game save from the old version to the new version. Oh, and by the way, if you have more than one save, too bad. You'll get one uploaded and downloaded. If you pick the wrong one, that's unfortunate for you. You're going to be stuck with it. This is what we're dealing with. Why don't you take them to task for it? Huh?
Yeah.
Remote play, great service. Remote play for PS5. You can play it anywhere. I have it on my Surface. I have it all over the place. If you want to play remote play on your PS5, you need a PS4 controller. Yeah, that's right. You know, they believe in generations. They don't want to let you use the old piece of crap hardware. They've moved on. New hotness. But if you want a remote play, you have to connect a PS4 controller. Because for some reason, they won't let you connect the Bluetooth-enabled PS5 controller to any other Bluetooth device. So you have to go buy or find your old PS4 controller so that you can play a PS5 game. Oh, and by the way, when you do that, half the buttons don't work. So if it's a touch screen, the thing that requires the touch screen, yeah, you can't play that game because the touch screen will not work. There's so much to take to task. And I'm not saying that because, Xbox is a bunch of crap. We call it out all the time. When their quick resume screws the pooch, we're yelling about it. When they're gouging prices, righteously, respectfully. And what happens? Things change. I just need, maybe it's me on my little soapbox here, but I need folks to stop this back and forth,
And that's also not including the fact that they still don't have two major features in expandable storage and variable.
No storage.
Yeah,
no storage.
I mean, listen. I'll be honest with you, Kayasante. You're actually onto something, and that could have been a topic in itself with all of the shortcomings that are going on.
Folks are so busy with this back and forth race about, finally they're going to turn the corner. Or no, 1 minute the Xbox is doing great, and then the minute there's a reason, right? Wait until this show comes up. Wait until PlayStation has a great show, which they will, and show amazing games, which they will. All of a sudden, them clickbait articles will be hot and heavy as they always are, which is so unfortunate. We need to work on that, people.
Yeah,
that's my opinion on the situation.
Yeah, no, the great stuff. You know what? We have a monster topic we're going to get to, but before we get to that, Everborn, we got to get your opinion on this. The $70 price point versus the Game Pass scenario has become more relevant in the conversation within social media than ever before, and that's because of what they're offering. Perfect example: when people walked away, and I say people when the gaming media walked away from E3 2021, and they saw 27 out of the 30 games were going to be in Xbox Game Pass day and date for you to download. The $70 price point became a problem, and I think it's going to continue to be a problem. And I'm not saying that they're worth it, they're not worth it. When you talk about value versus the value proposition versus what they're offering, it is going to be eventually become a problem, and it's becoming mainstream media news. What are your thoughts on this? Do you see the media eventually turning their eyes or their crosshairs on Sony?
So here's the thing with the nature of sort of media being online and sort of getting web traffic, right? It is all about traffic, and the media knows it's not that they are biased towards any or against any particular company. They're looking for a winner, right? And whoever they decide that winner is, they're just going to lean in that direction, and then other people's emotions will follow after that, right? So I think that once these things are in the sort of in the Xbox strategy becomes more undeniable, right? It's not advantageous to them to do hit pieces anymore, because like people have said before, you do that kind of article and people are hip to it, right? And Microsoft in the past would usually just kind of say, we're above all that. We're going to let them write their stuff, and we're just going to do what they're going to do.
Stuff, right?
They don't do that anymore. At every instance when something is going on, they are right there to set the record straight if it needs to be set straight, or they are there to sort of adjust. And you've seen them respond in real time to things, right? So and as far as these articles, like what else are they going to say right now, right? You just watched, like you said, a show where they told you you're getting 27 games within the next 18 months that are included in your subscription, AAA, indie, all down the line. That's it. There's no bad way to spin that, right? So, but I've been on record before. Each person has to set a value on what they think. For me, Battlefield has no business costing $70 without a story mode, but that's me.
Or $108 right? If you buy the big package.
That said, if Nintendo told me tomorrow that Breath of the Wild 2 was $100, I would say take my money. Shut up and take my money. That is just how I am with my game. If they told me Halo was $100, Halo is my second favorite franchise of all time behind Zelda, I would pay $100 for it. So I'm not mad at anyone who will say this game gives me specific, I will get value out of this game or that game, so I will pay for it. I think it's high quality enough based on the time I put in, based off how happy I am with the development, all those things. Now, all that being said, my issue comes in when people are sort of happy because their platform or whatever is doing a thing, then they're happy to pay more money for the same thing that you could get elsewhere, right? So it's this sort of rabid consumerism, right? Where we hear like I would rather pay $70 for a game, not because I think it's better, not because I can't get it somewhere else cheaper, just because the company who I have made into my religion is charging for it. And that to me is weird, right? Yeah. You get what you find value in and what's in your favor. So for me, I'm coming more to this idea of, do we even need to buy these games at launch for full price? Because many times when they're full price, they are full of bugs, and we become beta testers for these large, complex games. So I wonder, by the time the price drops, they usually work out all the bugs, right? I paid $70 for Eternal, right? I got caught up in the hype, right? Ton of bugs. I'm not playing it again because I've wasted too much time in it, right? Yeah. I'm a grown man. I have a few businesses. I have my day job. I have all those things, trying to create a world, writing books, comics, all those things. So when I game, I want it to be towards something, and I don't feel like Returnal respected my time, so I stopped playing it. That being said, right now, you can buy it for $50, and a lot of those bugs are worked out. So maybe everyone, instead of rewarding these companies for making you a beta tester and selling you broken games up front, how about you wait until the price is right? This is not.
You know what that does, though, right, Everborn? I hear you, but you know what you're saying there. You're basically counteracting the current PlayStation model, because that's the way they succeed. If it's Game Pass, no big deal. Anybody can play it whenever they want. But they insist, in their world, they insist on making sure you buy it when it first comes out, even pre-order, or else you have your situation of what's that game that didn't get a sequel because of that
Days
situation?
Gone.
Days Gone. Otherwise, you have a Days Gone 2 situation.
What I'm talking about is not even geared towards PlayStation. What I'm saying is, if everybody waited for Cyberpunk, right?
Yep.
If you waited for Cyberpunk, maybe it wouldn't have had so much bugs. And if publishers in general, this goes for Sony, Microsoft, EA, everyone, right? If they were not rewarded at launch, because they know people are going to complain, but they're going to buy it anyway. And when the next game comes out, we're not going to learn our lessons because we're so hyped to say, I bought this game day one at full price. So if we said we are going to wait until the price is right and the bugs are fixed, maybe we wouldn't keep getting these buggy games at launch. Maybe. Outriders.
Hey, look what Microsoft did with Halo Infinite. That
No, but that's
counteracts
what I'm
that.
saying.
That works. Yeah, you're
But
right. That's it right there.
Even Outriders, right?
Mhm.
Like that game still has a lot of bugs, and I think it got saved from those bugs because it was in Game Pass, and people were like, well, it's in the service, so I'm not going to complain. But like, could you imagine if you paid $60 for that game?
$3.99 gives you a lot more leeway, my friend. Yeah.
Right. But that's not an excuse to say you should release those buggy games. I'm just saying as consumers, look out for yourself before you look out for a company that doesn't know you exist. And that's for anyone. So do what is in your best interest. If you think that a game is worth $70, cool. But I'm just saying to everyone, as long as we keep rushing out day one to buy these games, they will continue to come out buggy.
Real quick,
Yes.
I saw a quick thing in the chat, and I saw it go by real quick, so I can't give the name to who did it, but so good. In Jim Ryan's PS5 $70 game for 27 of them, like they released on Game Pass, that'd be $1,890 for IPs that you'll get free on Game Pass.
That sounds like 10 years of Game Pass almost.
Yeah, pretty much.
$1,890
Yeah,
for what what Xbox showed.
And exactly, and that's just lunacy. Real quick, listen, folks. We're 90 plus minutes in. We have 400 people still here. You're enjoying the banter.
Can we get some likes, by the way? Can we get the likes?
Absolutely.
A shout out to all the 400 people here.
Yeah, absolutely. Shout out to the 400 people that are here. Spending your evening with us. I got to get caught up on super chats. Keo Walker in the chat drops a very generous $5 super chat and says, like Aaron Greenberg says, sorry, I'm not sorry. And we're going to get to that story right now. Dan the Man Cunningham drops a $5 super chat and says, just put in, 12 and a half hour work shift and winding down listening to Primetime with Boom and Crew. Nothing better. Thank you, brother. No, thank you, Dan the Man Cunningham. We definitely appreciate the generosity. And of course, we appreciate you being here. Good friend of the show, Scrub Nurse, says, hit that like button. Thank you, Scrub Nurse, for that. Listen, folks, we're going to get into the nitty gritty, and we're probably going to hit a little bit of overtime, folks. This is the big story of the day, one of which that took social media by storm, one of which has pissed off a lot of people in this chat, as well as on this panel, and we're going to get right into it. And, just when you think you can give credit to social media, you can give credit to the gaming media, something like this happens. Now, a story that literally was like a bonfire. It just kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger to the point where I had to take time from my wife's vacation, and I, we have this week off. We're celebrating our 21st wedding anniversary on Thursday, and we're just after Tuesday's show, I'm going on vacation, folks. You're not going to hear me for at least half a week, and I'm going to recharge the batteries and spend some time with Mrs. Boom. But I had to get this story in because according to the gaming media, who, again, I want to give credit to, but find very hard doing so. Apparently, Todd Howard and Pete Hines are talk about leaving PlayStation gamers behind, and they offer an apology for Starfield being an exclusive on Xbox and PC. Many gamers, many Xbox gamers are asking why, when PlayStation has used this tactic for the entire last generation. Now, here are some quotes directly from not only Todd Howard, not only Pete Hines, but I also have one from Aaron Greenberg that really should have sewn up any question as to them being sorry. Todd Howard was interviewed. This is what he had to say. The interviewer asked him to basically pick a side, which I thought was unprofessional. He says, pick a side, meaning PlayStation? Is that what you mean? Well, a little bit. You don't ever want to leave people out, right? But at the end of the day, your ability to focus and say, this is a game I want to make. These are the platforms I want to make it on. And being able to really lean in on those is going to make for a better product. By focusing on those platforms, you really get to lean in a lot of making it the best it can be for those consoles or systems. And we are big believers in all of our avenues that Xbox and Microsoft are doing what they're doing to get games to more people, whether that's the integration with PC, which is a huge focus for us, the cloud streaming, and all of those things. So I think it's about talking a long-term view and our belief that those things are really fundamentally good. So we see it actually opening up more and more and more so that people's ability to play our games via Game Pass and other things, as well as their ability to play our games, doesn't go down, it goes up dramatically. Now, this is what Pete Hines had to say regarding the so-called sorry to PlayStation gamers. If you're a big fan of our stuff, we make it, if you're a big fan of the stuff we make and a game that we're making is no longer available on your platform, I totally understand if you're unhappy or pissed. I get it. Those are real feelings and frustrations. This comes to us from an interview with GameSpot. Now, while responding to Digital Swords of Twitter, who wrote this, 100% agree with, and I believe it's Snow Bunny 426 who wrote, Xbox gamers got locked out of previous multi-plat franchises like Street Fighter, Spider-Man, and Final Fantasy due to exclusivity deals. Not one developer apologized for it, and Pete Hines shouldn't have apologized either. And actually, Pete Hines responded directly to this Twitter user, and it says this: I'm not apologizing for exclusivity. I don't have to do anything. Some of our fans are upset, angry, and I'm sorry that they are. This isn't wrong or weird. It's just acknowledging how they feel. That's it. That's my whole point. And Aaron Greenberg commented, he did the rounds with Pete Hines he did a Twitter interview. I think it was on audio. I didn't get a chance to read it, but I did get a quote from a story that was published by, I believe it was Game Rant. And it says this, the lead title, Aaron Greenberg does not apologize for Starfield not making it to the PS5. Commenting on the situation with Greenberg and Hines, they mention that he has taken the day off from Twitter after what happened. However, Aaron Greenberg himself has taken the opportunity to clarify that he does not apologize, probably referring to the exclusivity of Starfield on Xbox, exclusivity for which some users have understood that Microsoft should apologize. Now, listen, I'm speaking with some very high profile content creators and media personnel with my own personal feelings and understanding of the situation. Bethesda offers a family type community fervor with its titles like Fallout, like Elder Scrolls, like Wolfenstein, and so many more. And even though I don't think that they apologize, I'm going to be honest with you. I'm almost disgusted at the media that they took this and ran, making them look weak. And you heard from all three men that they're not apologizing for anything. Listen, folks, the bottom line is this, okay? And I have this in my notes, and I'm going to say this. And if you are a PlayStation guy or gal, if that's your main hub of play, you know what? I understand. But if you are part of this conversation, I remember the PlayStation community being very loud, almost to the point of an overtaking roar. And this is what they used to say: if you want AAA bangers like God of War, Horizon Zero Dawn, or Spider-Man, what could you do? You buy a PlayStation. Well, that, in fact, now could be used here. If you want new Bethesda experience, subscribe to Xbox Game Pass, and there's your problem solved. And there are some people in this community, the loudest, the most nastiest, the most toxic, feel that they are owed something. You're owed shit, by the way. A PS, by the way, okay? If you want these experiences, go find 6 different ways aside Sunday that you can play an Xbox game, as opposed to going to PlayStation and saying, well, you can only play here, my son. That's it. So listen, let's get into the guests. I know that they're going to have a lot to say on this. Dutch, we got to go to you first, brother. What are your thoughts on the media, again, taking all the goodness that Xbox is doing and misconstruing these interviews into some type of, we're sorry to PlayStation gamers that we made some sort of a mistake going with Xbox?
I'll address before that. You made a good point there about people. You're not entitled to shit.
Yes.
Because it's a fact. It's a fact. If we go back to the whole fanboy versus casual kind of article, where it's the loud majority, the loud minority aren't the majority. The people that are complaining about, oh well, we should be getting these exclusives, blah 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 blah. You're not entitled to anything. And if you ask any other casual gamer on PlayStation in the first place, if you go, oh, by the way, the new Doom's out, what platform's it on? Just Xbox. Oh, can you not get it on PlayStation? No, it's an Xbox game. All right, okay, no problem. That's all you have to mention. There is no furore, there is no loudness, there is no outrage, because that is casuals don't care. If it's on one system, it's on one system. If it isn't, it isn't. The whole furore and the angriness about it is just from the toxicity in both media and in fanboys on particular platforms. Now, should they have said sorry? No, but I don't think they also meant sorry in that context. If you listen to the original interview with Pete Hines, the guy's also extremely unprofessional and almost saying, well, don't you think you should be saying sorry? He's saying, well, I'm sorry that they feel upset, but I'm not sorry that it's not exclusive. Like, no, it's business at the end of the day, and people have to realize that it is business. Whatever's going to be best for that particular studio to do, and considering Bethesda's been working with Xbox for longer than they have ever been working with PlayStation.
Yes.
They brought their original title, Morrowind, over to Xbox for the first time on a console ever, working with Xbox. Their relationship is far stronger. Now, you've also had the same thing. Did you see the same boot-offs when Insomniac went to PlayStation? No. It was a case of, oh, we're not going to get Sunset Overdrive 2 now. That was a really good game. Right, okay.
Exactly.
Looks like if I wanted, I'd get a PlayStation. No, fine. And look how many games. Look at how that turns out. You've had Spider-Man. You've had another Ratchet and Clank. Look at how many games Insomniac have produced for PlayStation now. And have you seen outrage from Xbox fans because of that? No, you haven't. Are we saying we demand an apology from Insomniac? I haven't seen that once. So why would Bethesda do the same there? They're not apologizing because the game's not on Xbox. They're not on PlayStation. They're just apologizing because some of their hardcore fans who love their franchises can no longer play on that. That's it. It's just a case of, right, sorry you feel that way, but it is what it is.
Shit.
Yeah, it is what it is. Sorry you feel that way,
in the
but it is
nicest
what
way
it is.
possible. Tough shit.
In the grand scheme of things, the casual players who just go out and buy games on a platform will either go, all right, well then I'll have to pick up an Xbox for cheap when I can find one.
Yes.
Or they'll just not play them. That's it.
Or they'll play it in the browser.
Yeah.
Yes.
Or on their phone.
Again, that becomes the real conversation here when you think about it. Microsoft, unlike Sony, is offering so many different ways for you to play said game. Right there's Game Pass, which you can play on your phone, on your tablet, on your computer, on your console, on your old consoles now, because they're going to be supporting those with with Project xCloud being available there. Right, that's a conversation that's being had by many people. There's again, it's a shame that they had to take step away from Twitter because they were being lambasted over apologizing when they never actually apologized. They basically said, hey, listen, if you're a PlayStation fan, I hear you, you're pissed, but you know what? It's business. You know what I'm saying? Anything else you want to add to this, Dutch?
Yeah. Again, primarily it's a case of it's the hardcore minority that are just ranting and raving about it. And again, the media themselves, they just want these titles, they want these stories, anything after such a positive week. They've had nothing bad to say, so why not try and create something bad?
Yeah, no, I
just want to. It's not about good or. I mean, some of those sites are, that's what it's about, like to spin it. But I think in general, it's not good or bad for them. It is just clicks. Right?
Money.
Is this going to piss people off? Is this gonna get people to share this article? Mm-hmm. And it works. And I'm not saying we shouldn't be talking about it right now because it's a good topic that I think is sparking a lot of other conversations. But like this is why they do it, right? It's not for them. It is business, just like exclusives are business. They got to get clicks, right? And it doesn't matter in what way they get it. So, boom. Can I go next, or you want to go to somebody else?
Yeah, no. You know what? Jump in. You're chomping at the bit. Get in here.
So here's the thing with the whole. If you watch, and we've all watched that interview, right? I think it was GameSpot, right?
Yes.
Yeah, GameSpot. You're right.
Pete Hines was being a human being. And he's like, if you wanted to play this game and, maybe you can only afford one console, right? Maybe you don't have the PC that everybody said they had, right? Maybe you don't have a browser or a phone, right? Like, if you can't afford it or you can't get it and you can't play it, I'm sorry, right? But it's not going to do for you, right? That's not an apology. That's just saying human to human, like, it sucks you can't get it, but tough shit. And keep complaining, right? One more word, and maybe you don't get Deathloop. That's me joking. No, but
that's you being a parent. Like, you want more word, and you don't get that toy, young man.
You want Tokyo Death Wild? You shut your mouth then, right? We already went to Toys R Us, and you got all these toys. Now you complaining like you're suffering. So keep crying, and I'll give you something to cry for, as what my parents used to tell me. I just had a little flashback there. I apologize. But anyway, here's the thing. I think that, and you saw Aaron Greenberg on the Uncle Pete and Aaron show.
Yes.
Saying, I'm not sorry. And Pete Hines said he wasn't sorry. No one was apologizing to anyone. I'm still waiting on my apology for Street Fighter V.
Yeah.
I still don't have Final Fantasy VII Remake yet on Xbox, right? Everybody just assumes that the Xbox customer should grin and bear whatever is happening. And I don't appreciate that, right? Because everybody says when Sony does these things is good business. You are as the Xbox customer, you're just expected to not get things, right? So where's the empathy for the Xbox customer, right? So we are in this situation because the Xbox customer has been locked out of so many games. And I'm not talking about games like Spider-Man that Sony built on their own dollar and they came up with all those things. Cool. That's it. I'm talking about the thing that Microsoft got excoriated for, like with Tomb Raider.
Yes.
Right?
A game they helped fund.
Right. But now every time Sony does this, right? In Destiny, there's certain guns, certain raids you couldn't get for a year, or you just didn't get it all, right? All this, when they got the marketing deal for Call of Duty, Xbox gamers were left out in the cold time and time again. So, or if you just want to talk about Bethesda, I'm an Xbox gamer. I'm not getting Deathloop. I got to play that on PlayStation, right? You don't get any of that. So not only was that not an apology, you don't deserve one. And I don't feel sorry for you because guess what? You're eating good over there. Don't get mad because somebody else is eating. This is like, I'm not even going to do it. I had another joke. I'll say it after the show. I'll put it in the private chat and then I'll watch all you guys laugh.
PG-13, please.
Yes.
PG-13.
but more seriously, like, Pete Hines did not apologize. This is manufactured story to create outrage. Don't pay attention to it. But we are in this predicament now. When you see all these studios getting bought up and they might have made your favorite franchise, we are in this world that Sony built. You wanted to pay to keep content away from gamers. Guess what? Now you have Microsoft in a position where they have to go and buy studios just to get games on their platform.
And they got more money than your favorite platform.
And their pockets are deep.
Yep, they are. And Satya Nadala's in on the ground floor with
I said this before, man. They have studios and bubblegum, and they are all out of bubblegum. Right? So this is only going to get worse. So if you want to have a good cry now, get it out of your system, because I promise you there will be more. And again, what I said at the beginning, this is a bare knuckle boxing match. So Sony is going to make moves, and they're probably going to pay for more exclusive deals.
2-year deals. Yeah, that's
right?
their thing now. Yeah, 2
Right.
years.
So that's fine. And then Microsoft is going to pay to have the same games that you pay $60 and $70 for in Game Pass for free. Right. How did MLB The Show and Outriders work out? Right.
Those are perfect examples, but more so MLB The Show, because that's Sony first party.
Right. So Sony wants to play dirty. Now they're both playing dirty. Right. Yeah. So this is the new world you're going to live in. And if this bothers you to the point where you're sad and you need an apology and your feelings are hurt, it's going to be a rough 6-7 years. That's all I'm saying. So have fun.
Yeah, the good stuff. Sean D, let's bring you in on the conversation, brother, because obviously we're at the 2-hour mark. Folks, we're going into overtime because we still got Sean D. We still have Kay Asante, and we still have the loudest Canadian gamer to give their opinions. Sean D, what are your thoughts on this? This story ran wild. Like, I actually, when I first read it, listen, you read these stories, you're like, they apologized. I started feeling rage. I'm like, what do you mean they apologized? What are you kidding me? And then I started reading into it, and I'm like, they didn't apologize.
Right.
There's some falsities going on over here. This is pure clickbait. What are your thoughts on the way Pete Hines, Todd Howard, more specifically, even Aaron Greenberg, Greeny, who's a good dude, he was like, yeah, man, I don't apologize. I'm not apologizing for nothing. What are your thoughts on this?
So when I first heard it, I heard it secondhand, so I didn't see an article or anything. And my initial feeling was like, I'm so sick of this, like this like blatant entitlement. But then, like, as soon as I heard the actual quote, I was like, oh, that's not an apology. That's empathy. And you do empathy a lot when you work in a business where you're providing a product, because it's called good customer service.
Yes.
So I don't know if you've ever been to any kind of like a store like Target or something, and you see a person at customer service and they are just like giving the person the business, like, I didn't pay for this, I want my money back. And that person just goes, yes, sir, I understand. I'm sorry that this happened to you. No matter what the person do, you do that because you're trying to calm the person down. What he's doing is he understands that these PlayStation guys, I really don't understand what's happening. Like, they unofficially purchased ZeniMax last year, right? Okay, cool. Then a couple months after that, they basically said that a lot of their games will be exclusive on a case-by-case basis, right? Then fast forward another 3 months or so, and they basically say that anything that's new is going to be exclusive, right?
Yeah.
So I don't understand why everybody's still surprised. And I don't understand why people are still holding on to this glimmer of hope that these games are going to come to the PlayStation 5. If people are upset about Starfield, which is a brand new IP, right? Wait until they see Elder Scrolls 6.
Yep. Doom. Wolfenstein.
People are going to shit a brick.
Yeah, they are.
It's going to be ridiculous. We're going to go through this all over again. But like you said, like, he did not apologize. He was simply saying, hey, I'm sorry that it's not on your preferred console. However, my thought process is yeah, it may not be on your preferred console, but it's on Xbox. And the difference with Xbox versus PlayStation is you don't have to just play it on Xbox. You can play it on PCs. The PCs that everybody says that they have there are super powered up.
$3,000 rigs. All the PlayStation fans have them. Yep.
You can play it on your phone. In a couple of months, you're going to be like, I say holiday time, they're going to have the TV ones available. Yes. Like, Xbox is making it so that anybody can play it. There's no excuse. The only excuse there is do you hate Xbox so much that you can't bring yourself to play on their products? That's the only thing there is. It's just like blatant entitlement. It's like, no, I'm PlayStation. We're supposed to have everything. We take things from you guys. You don't take things from us. And that's just like the thought process. Like, I don't have to buy anything else. I can buy this, and you can and when we take your games, you're just supposed to deal with it and be happy that you got what you got. But like, what game are we playing? Do y'all realize that Xbox is no longer by itself? Xbox is Microsoft now.
Yes.
All that money is available to them now. They're a big boy now.
Xbox is Microsoft. No separate thing. I'm telling you, they are no longer the little brother.
There is zero competition.
Yeah.
Zero competition. There is no competition anymore. The only thing you will see, just like back in the day when Microsoft was going against Apple, Microsoft had to bail Apple out, not necessarily out of the goodness of their heart. They did it so they wouldn't have a monopoly. So they kept them around just for that fact. That's why you will see, I expect Microsoft to probably buy one more publishing arm. Then they're going to kind of cool it because they don't want to start getting into that gray area where it's like, okay, now you guys have a dominant arm on the gaming sphere. And it's simply like nobody else can pay to play. So Microsoft is definitely going to buy some more, but you're going to start seeing that they actually want to pump Sony up. They don't want to destroy play. Like he literally, Phil said it. I do not want to destroy, I'm not here to destroy PlayStation. I want PlayStation to be around because you have to have competition in order to maintain laws so that they don't fall into a monopoly. So my full thing is on it is nobody owes nobody an apology. To be fair, even when PlayStation did what they did, they don't owe Xbox players an apology, but it needs to go the exact same way. We don't owe Xbox people or the Xbox Microsoft team does not owe PlayStation players anything for doing business. This is business. That's what it is.
Yeah. No, I mean, great stuff as always. Let's get Mag in on the conversation. Mag, what are your thoughts on the way that this was spun?
Yes,
because
sir.
that's the best way to say it. It was spun, and again, I almost feel really bad for Todd Howard and Pete Hines because when you see the way they talk about Starfield, this is Todd Howard's baby. This is something he's always wanted to do. And now instead of talking about the game and coming off such a strong E3, they are tasked with defending themselves against people hearing that they are now apologizing for Starfield being exclusive to the Xbox and PC when that was not in fact the case. See, this is where I want Microsoft not to be vindictive, but hold these entities accountable. Don't give them the interviews. Don't say when someone from GameSpot calls, you put them on the pay no mind list because they're trying to spin something that's going to effectively hurt your company. And that's what it really comes down to. What are your thoughts on this, Mag?
You know, it's interesting you say that about spin. There was something that Dave Chappelle said 2 years ago, and it wasn't a joke. He was actually being dead serious in one of his shows, and he said, I feel sorry for everybody out there in that crowd right now, all the young people in this crowd. And he said, you know why? He says, you don't live in an age of news. You live in an age of spin. And he said, and it's gotten so bad now because what ends up happening is that, when the media went from twice a day, once in the morning, once at night, and then you got one newspaper in the morning and a newspaper at night, that was it. And what ended up happening is that then CNN turned it into 24 hours. And then the other stations started to compete. And then the newspapers, and then the internet, and then everything else. So what do? You can't just all tell the same story. So what ends up happening, look at podcasts. How many podcasts are there out there that are talking about Xbox and PlayStation or whatever, right? PC and Nintendo. You can't all talk about the same story. Boom, this is when you write these shows and you talk about the shows and the topics, right? What you're trying to do is stand out.
Yes.
So with these, but the thing is, there's a respectable way to do it. Okay, the way you run your shows and the way you write your shows and your topics, trying to be unique so that you have a different product from everybody else. I get it, and that's great. But what these clowns are doing is what I like to call, the outrage culture, where what they do is they put a really stupid title, piss everybody off, and then what ends up happening? Their emotions take over, and then they go, what the hell is this? And then they click on it.
Yeah.
Right? And then that's what happened. You know what? And that happened to me. I'm not going to lie. Like for half a second, and I said, wait a minute. but I already clicked on it too late. They already made their money. So what do they end up doing? This is what, you know what I'm saying? But this is what they do. And so what they do is that they put these sensational, stupid things. They spin the narrative in order to make us say, how could we stand out from everybody else who's reporting on E3? All right, let's piss people off by saying this. Right. And so this all boils down to this 24/7 news stuff because you're trying to stand out from all these other media sites and everything else. And what do? You get people's emotions riled up. You get all these different things happening. And what ended up happening? People get mad. They click on you. And then as soon as they click on you, then all of a sudden they made their money. They got the thing. And guess what? Then they leave all the dogs to fight in the trenches by themselves. Okay. And then the media site walks away clean. What they need to do is that people, which will never happen. But, people could say, okay, we got to hold them to task. We got to make them accountable for what they said and this and that. But it'll never happen. It'll never happen. You know why? Because then they'll spin something else the next week. And guess what? People are going to get pissed off again. And then they're going to click on it. And then guess what? It just continues on and on and on. The whipping boy for the last 8 years has been Xbox.
Yeah.
Right? The only thing that they can do now to prevent that is keep doing what they're doing. And what they're doing is they're slowly but surely putting together, they've already put together a solid foundation. What they're doing now is putting out solid product. And then they have to keep doing that. And they showed us that roadmap. They showed a roadmap. They showed us those 30 games. They haven't even even Phil said in E3, they haven't even shown them the other ones that they're working on, the big ones, Avowed, Fable, this and that, right? A Senua Saga. So that being said, they're doing that. So the thing is, the people themselves will start to turn and they'll say, you know what? These whatever site, Gamer 24/7 and whatever, and and the IGNs of the world and this and that, they're going to say, these guys are a bunch of jackasses. And then they're going to stop listening. And then they're going to start, and you saw, and we all saw this, especially people who've been on YouTube and everything else. Did you guys all saw the paradigm shift that's happened over the last few years as people are slowly but surely moving away from IGNs and the this and the that's and the VG24s and whatever the hell it is, and they start coming to YouTube to listen to us. Why? Because we're not trying to spin. When we give a review on a game, you're getting an honest review from a fellow peer. Yeah. Not someone who's trying to make money off it, right? And that being the case, they're starting to slowly come over to YouTube. So what we need to do is just have faith in what they're doing, Microsoft in this case, okay? And as they release the good product, and then these media guys are going to say, you know what, we're not getting as much traffic on this stuff because you're literally shooting bullets at Superman at some point. Yeah. They're just going to keep bouncing off of him. And then, and then all of a sudden, what are you going to do? He's still standing there. Okay, he's got a smile on his face, but the thing is, the people themselves are going to say these guys are idiots, and then all of a sudden you start to, you lose your credibility. Once you lose that credibility, people start moving away and stop paying attention, and then they start coming to these channels. They come to Dutch's channels. Okay, they come to everybody else's channels, and they start listening, and they're going, "These guys make sense. These guys are telling the truth, or at least their version of the truth, or whatever, right?" But we're not trying to spin stuff. Like, when we do these shows, Boom, every time you do Primetime or Xbox Factor or Breakfast with Boom, do you put sensational titles in there that are ridiculous like some other people that we've seen out in the world?
No, I won't do it.
We don't have stupid things like that, like PS5 dominates. Xbox in the dumps, and then have a picture of Phil Spencer with like in a ditch with his legs in the air. You know what I mean? Like some of these other YouTube channels. We're not doing stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? And you know what I'm talking about. I know everybody
quietly knows who you're talking about.
Yeah, we know. You all know what we're talking about. So, that kind of stupid stuff. So the thing is, though, when people start moving away from those media sites and start coming to the YouTubers and stuff, and you could by the way, you could sense. Okay, you can sense that these people do not like a lot of the YouTuber communities, and I heard that there were a lot of disdain in the last actual physical E3, where there were media people there were actually kind of bitching that YouTubers were getting into some of these shows and stuff like that, right? Yeah. And it says, well, why not? Because they're doing it right. I would rather listen to those people, and it doesn't matter whether it's PlayStation, Xbox, whatever. Like Mr. Badbit's a PlayStation dude. One of the coolest dudes I know, man. I watch that show. And, awesome just because I'm primarily an Xbox gamer, you don't think I'm going to listen to him? I think he's a fantastic podcaster. I think his views and stuff are great on the PlayStation community and everything else. Yeah. I'm going to listen to that. But I will not listen to some idiot who's going to just be bashing on the other one just to get attention.
Clicks.
And all this boils down to is getting attention in order to make money. And I think it's ridiculous. I think that eventually these media sites are going to have to smarten up, and they will smarten up because someone in the higher ups are going to go like, guys, we're getting a lot of flack for this stuff.
Yeah.
You know, and
well, not only that, but they're going to be turning around and going, guys, we're losing traction to some guy in his bedroom producing a
exactly
a podcast.
Pretty much. And you know, and Dutch, it's happening.
Yep.
It's happening when you've got people. When you get like an IGN live feed and it's being outdone by Dealer Gaming.
Yeah, that's saying something. Yep.
That's saying something. You know, and what does Dealer call himself? You know, Dealer says, I'm not anything special. I'm just an asshole with a microphone.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? But guess what? More people are checking him out than they're checking out IGN live feeds. So that being the case, this is where it's heading. So the thing is, you know what? Stay the course. They're going to continue doing what they're doing. Like, let's face it, Microsoft, these guys are professionals, for Christ's sake. These aren't like a bunch of fanboys running around, you know, talking smack and whatever else. They're doing what they're doing because they're making billions of dollars. So they're not involved in all this kind of stuff. What they're doing, just stay true to your course. You have a plan. You had the battle plan. It was laid out. Okay, Phil laid it out. Now he's got the army behind him. Go follow through with the battle plans and just that's it. And have faith in your product. And we've said, just like we said at the beginning of the show, they know they have faith in that product. Okay, yeah, you saw the confidence.
Yes.
You know, and therefore, that being the case, don't worry about these idiots. And, you know, I mean, I know we're talking about it because, you know, it's a good conversation point. But like outside of this, you know, none of us are arguing about this on Twitter and stuff like that. I just ignored it. And, you know, but that's all it is, you know, and just have faith in what's going forward and just, you know what, be a gamer for God's sake. And, you know, and just if you see stuff like that, just walk away from it and don't engage because it's not worth it at the end of the day. And all you're doing is contributing to it.
Yeah, 100%. Great way to close out what you had to say. Asante, let's get your opinion. But before I do, brother, I got catch with 2 super chats that popped in here. We had one come to us from, let's see, Nolan Baptiste. Yeah, I think that's what it is. Thank you so much for the outstanding $5 super chat. And says, hi, panel. If Xbox doesn't get a Game of the Year award, do you think it's bias or not? What do you guys think?
Can I answer that one?
Just do it quick. Yeah.
Quick. I think it depends like on what they release. We can't call it bias until we have a specific game that we can point to. If I had to guess, I think Psychonauts 2 has a shot, but I haven't played
Ori and the Will of the Wisp.
Yeah, but that was not released this year. We're talking about this year, right?
No, I'm talking about last time they should have gotten an award and they were completely
well, they didn't. We're not talking about that. Is it biased this year? We don't know that until they have released a game that we can all agree should get nominated.
If Halo, put it to this way, Nolan, if Halo Infinite hits the way I think it's going to hit on both the multiplayer and the single player, if it's not in the conversation, then we're going to have a conversation of what the hell's going on. And that goes for Forza Horizon 5.
One other thing I want to say, you mentioned Forza Horizon there, but people disregard the fact that Forza Horizon 4 and Forza Horizon 3 were Game of the Years themselves in that category.
Yes.
Like, all they remember is Game of the Year in third-person narrative action-adventure games. That's it. They don't remember the other Game of the Years that were actually announced, like Hades was Game of the Year for an indie game. Forza Horizon was Game of the Year for a racing game.
Yeah. No, I mean, and that does make a lot of sense, Dutch, for sure. Okay, Asante, let's get your opinion real quick. Stitch 6669 drops a $5 super chat and says, "Yeah, that was an unnecessary apology. The hypocrisy runs deep on those news outlets. You know what we have, a console." For you, it's called the Series X and S. Yeah, indeed. I absolutely agree. But Asante, close out today's incredible show with your opinion regarding the apparent non-apology from 3 of the bigs at Microsoft.
So, I mean, everyone has already aptly, pointed this out exactly what it was, right? I heard Sean D. I heard Everborn also make mention of empathy, which is what this was, right? It was empathy. That's all it was. It was nothing more. Anybody that pays attention or goes beyond, I always say this, Everborn will attest. I always say this: stop the slogans, read the details, dig into the details. The headlines are always there to fool you. We've been going back and forth about like whether we should have this conversation or whether this conversation is useful or not. What makes this conversation useful to me is that if you are a genuine gamer, I'm not talking about the hardcore because they believe something else. I'm not even talking about the casuals because they pick up what they pick and they move on. If you are a gamer that you consider yourself gaming as part of your daily, existence to keep you happy, then this is things that this conversation should teach you something. This is not necessarily, and I'm coming to this from the perspective of folks are genuine, and the disingenuous folks are using that against you. They throw something out there because they know it'll rile you up, and of course it does that. And I will say this on both the PlayStation and the Xbox side, because honestly, with this specific instance, it's a pox on both your houses. It really is, because first you got the PlayStation. First, it's the disingenuous folks that go out there and ask a ridiculously inappropriate question. I'm sorry. That was inappropriate. And I will name names. What's his name? Timur Hussein? Yes. Inappropriate question to be asked. Yeah. It was stupid. It was unnecessary. You could be a PlayStation dude.
Considering his background.
You could be a PlayStation dude. It's cool. Yeah. But how about when you have folks in the chat, this and that, I don't care. Just say what you will. You're a guy. You have your opinion. You're a normal consumer like everyone else. We all have opinions. That's fine. But if you're a journalist, you're supposed to have a higher standard.
Yes,
even if you're a normal human who plays the games, when you're in that seat and you're speaking to that executive, you're supposed to be there representing us. And I may be a PlayStation guy or I'm an Xbox guy, but whichever side I fall on, I deserve to have the same level of respect, the same level of questions answered, the same energy as the kids like to put it. And this was not that. This was not that, right? Yeah. This was literally a triggering question. And what did Pete Hines do? He did his best to be empathetic. He did his best. You remember when you're a kid, you see another kid getting mistreated, you see somebody drop their ice cream, they cry, and then you're a kid and you cry because you feel bad for them. Yes. It's empathy. I feel foolish even explaining this. This is ridiculous, But yes, it's true. PlayStation has their folks that are basically waiting for bullets for their narrative chamber. This is it, even though it's not real, but it's still twisted enough to the point where it can sound like it, and that's all that's enough, because folks don't read into it. All they care about is the slogan, all they care about is the meme, all they care about is the headline, right? If you look into it, and as folks have also pointed out, Aaron Greenberg, one of the nicest dudes, boom, I was on the Twitter Spaces where he said that. I happened to be listening in, where basically, the first Pete Hines was misconstrued from a genuine perspective. If you genuinely think he did that, he was misconstrued. I don't think he was misconstrued. I think they basically were using his words as an atom bomb to trigger people. But let's just assume he was misconstrued, right? Aaron Greenberg laid it flat. Sorry, not sorry. It is what it is.
Yeah.
Right. And it's business. And me, as an Xbox gamer, which I've established already, I know this. I've had to come to terms with this way back in the day. I had 5, 6 different PlayStation, different Spider-Man games on Xbox 360. There were many of them. They weren't particularly great.
By B-Knock, those were some of my favorite Spider-Man games. Yeah,
they weren't particularly next level. I mean, Insomniac literally took it to the next level. This is the Spider-Man game. All those others were pale imitations, but still, they were there. And then when Insomniac got bought out for a huge friggin' steal, which still to this day, whoever at PlayStation made that deal, give that guy a raise. Give him a double raise, because man, he needs it, right? After PlayStation did that, all of a sudden we had to come to terms. Okay, it's all good. When folks talk about Insomniac, the one piece of the puzzle they never mention, and that's probably because VR isn't huge. Do you know how many games that Insomniac released on Oculus Quest? Like multiples at the same time, just like they did with the PlayStation. There was a time where Oculus Studios had like 3 or 4 in the works at the same time, and they were all coming from Insomniac. And every time they release, they had one banger after another, like ridiculous quality games, VR only. And the minute the PlayStation bought them, all dried up. And you got to get used to it. That's business. If anybody needs to apologize, which is not really necessary, it would be PlayStation because this is their game plan. They buy and they go, buy, you want it? We have a console for you. It's called the PlayStation, right? That's what they do. But the real question here isn't why there's an apology, why there isn't an apology. The real question here is why are folks okay with shitty anti-consumer behavior if it means it's coming from a platform they love? And that's on both Xbox and PlayStation side.
Yeah.
Why is it that, yep, they're doing shitty stuff, but they're doing it like it's the plastic I prefer, so it's good now.
It's
if it's
okay.
the plastic I don't prefer,
it's behavior that I can get behind. Yeah.
If it's plastic I don't, if it's not the plastic I prefer, all of a sudden it's horrible. But if it's a plastic I do deserve, the plastic I like, then all of a sudden it's all good.
It's thumbs up.
Folks,
yeah,
it's insane. Folks have been talking about how Xbox is gonna let you play your games anywhere you want. If you don't ever want to actually even be in the Xbox ecosystem, they're okay with that. Go ahead, play it on your no GPU having Chromebook, and just Bluetooth your PS5 DualSense controller to it. It'll play the Xbox game perfectly. You won't even notice you're on it. You'll feel the same thing as if you're on a PlayStation. They don't care.
Hey Kay, what did Phil Spencer say many years ago? We are putting the gamer at the center of our strategy. Yeah. It's not about the box. Yes. It is about the gamer. So we're going to come to you and meet you where you are. Mm-hmm. And you cannot, and even though people try every day, you cannot spin that any other way, but that is a good thing.
It is a good,
but for some reason, it's
funny you just mentioned this. It's funny. I'm sorry. You just mentioned this. There were folks in the chat. You were like, how can somebody spin this? They can't. Yeah, they're spinning it. You know what I read? I'm not going to pay any names. I'm like laughing my butt off sitting over here. He goes, oh, come on now. They're using pedophile methods. Oh, the first hit is free. Game passes, pedophile methods. That's how they're spinning it. It's insane to me. It is insane to me. Because what? Your uncle is PlayStation? So whatever he does must be correct because it works in your favor? No, you're literally emptying your pocket for their benefit because it's us versus them. If nothing else, please take this conversation we're having, go and think about it for a while.
Yeah.
We're gamers. We love games. I have my PlayStation and my Xbox next to me. Xbox, PlayStation, right here. We are gamers. We love games. Yeah. But we want them to do better. Yes. And Dutch will outdo me with his amazing work on both PlayStation and Xbox, right? We just love games. And if one side or another is doing foolish things, it is all of us. We talk about selfish gamers, this and that. We're not all like the gaming itself is selfish. Okay. But I love the idea that my brother or my sister gets the game with me, whether it's on their platform of their choice. And, I'm playing on the platform of my choice and we're gaming together. I don't care where you game. And if you're getting shafted, I think that's uncool. Guess what that's called? Empathy. Yeah. Learn it. Yeah. This whole thing. And my last piece, Xbox gamers, please stop falling for this stupidity. It is so ridiculous. They can spin all they want. Just keep it freaking moving. The reason why we have to stop and have this conversation is because you people are taking this stuff seriously. What is going on? Thank you for my TED Talk. I will step back.
On the tail end of that, and Boom probably gets it a lot as well. I've got quite a lot of my kind of followers from our show that jump into my inbox all the time and they ask me my opinion and my preference and kind of ask me about some of these ridiculous quotes on. And then, what should we reply? And my response is always, just don't. There is don't get involved because it's just bait. You'll just end up in a continuous cycle, round and round and round. Enjoy gaming.
To that point, sharing an article that you disagree with, or a lot of the times we'll share a headline for an article that we didn't read yet, but it was incendiary and we didn't like it. So we'll share it just to say how bad of a take it is. Yeah. They've already won once you've done that. Yeah. Once you sent it to someone, whether you send it in a DM, whether you share it or retweet it to correct a false narrative, they've won already. You can literally take the air out of their sails if you just ignore it.
Yeah.
Understand that you're being a pawn. You're a pawn. They're playing with your emotions.
The
Get
headlines are written to get you angry and to get you to click on it and share it, because engagement is engagement is engagement. So you just understand that. Do not feed the troll, as they say.
That's right. Listen, folks, this has been one hell of a show. We're 2.5 hours into today's show. I didn't expect it to go this long, but you know what? We do free speak on this panel, and there's no time limit for anyone. They come in, they give their spiel, and they go balls to the wall, and I love that. And I want to thank the 450 plus people that came out for this show. We are going up against some stiff competition, and the fact that you guys and gals are here, it definitely warms my heart. It definitely makes this panel, want to come back each and every week, because you're here to root us on, and you're here to support this dream of ours. So, of course, I want to get to the outros. But before I get to the outros, folks, real quick, tomorrow's Xbox Factor podcast is going to be a big one. Besides, the incredible topics, besides having an incredible panel, the original plan was to have the biggest crossover event in Xbox conversation that I've personally ever done. And originally, we were getting both Jez Corden and Randall Thor on our podcast. It was going to be the big crossover event. Right now, Rand is confirmed. Jez cannot make it. He is sick with what did he say?
Vertigo, I think it is.
Vertigo. Yes, he's sick with vertigo. And obviously, we're going to get him back on the show at a later date and potentially even do the full crossover. But tomorrow at 12, you're going to get Randall Thor. And as you can see by the thumbnail that I've been advertising, we're going to be talking a lot about Senua's Hellblade 2 Senua Saga, along with some other big topics. So that show goes live tomorrow, 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And hopefully you guys and girls will come in and tune in for that. That's going to be a big, big show. One of the biggest ones for that new Tuesday show that we added to the 4 shows a week that we do at Double Barrel Gaming. But let's get to the outros. And we'll start with Dutch. Dutch, thank you so much for hanging out, brother. I know it's super, super late where you are. Love the work that you do in the community. I mean, obviously, you are a beacon of hope when it comes to supporting everyone and doing the right thing by the community. Tell everyone where they can reach out to you on social media, but more importantly, where can people strike up a conversation with you?
Most definitely. Well, thank you for the kind words, first of all, Boom. That's awesome to hear. Certainly try to do. That's the one thing we try to do anyways, is try to build a really great community, and that's including on the PlayStation side. Of course, these days is much more difficult. There is limited amount of genuine PlayStation content creators. Thankfully, we know kind of a couple of them. Including, as you mentioned, Mr. Badbit himself. Absolutely awesome show at PS Trophy Room. But yeah, it's we try to be as honest as possible, keep the news as frank as possible, and just tell people the truth. Whether or not they like that truth is another thing, but it's we're straight to the point and be genuine. However, you can find me at Twitter, Wondering Dutch. DMs should be open. If not, I usually try to get them as much as I possibly can. And at YouTube at Wondering Dutch, where we host the Midweek Mix-Up podcast. And the panel is getting awfully good these days. Of course, as you know, we've got another one of your panel members. We have Archimedes on there. Of course, his channel is booming. We have Chris Grinnell now, of course, the ex-Sony dev.
Chris is a good dude. Panel. He was on the show a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, awesome. It's great, obviously, to get his perspective on things, being kind of an ex-developer as well. Really kind of broadens that conversational. And then, of course, we've got Shambhalan and Hertog Vin, who's joined the panel now on a part-time basis.
Nice.
And then, of course, we have 2 of our up-and-coming content creators in both Forza Irwin with Racing From Home, doing sim racing on a Fanatec wheel. So he's covering that now on his own YouTube channel. Just hit over 100 subs, so he's on his way there.
Dude. Nice.
Boom. And Pat covering his PUBG, or at least road to PUBG partnership on Twitch. So he's affiliate now on Twitch. So he's booming. And boom, Hertog Vin, who's joined the panel, is going to be streaming some Dreamcast games going
Oh,
forward.
dude,
wow.
Can we get some
Awesome.
Power Stone in there?
Awesome.
Yes.
Yes. So I'm sure you'll be keen to see that. But he's just got that all set up. He's just got all the rig and things set up there. So if anybody's interested in some old school Dreamcast gaming,
That's
Vin's
awesome.
got you covered.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, listen, Dutch, thank you so much for being here, brother. Love what you do with the community. We got to get you back much sooner than later. You spent way too much time away from this show. We got to get you back on for sure. Sean D, this is another gentleman that's a great community member. Haven't had him on in a while. Sean D, it's great to have you back, brother. Tell everyone about your YouTube channel, but more importantly, tell them about where could people strike up a conversation with you on social media.
So right now I am taking a break from my YouTube channel, but you guys can catch me on Twitter at Sean D at Game Entertain. Also, we got a lot of games coming to Game Pass, a lot of co-op games. So if you guys want to hit me up on Xbox, you can hit me up at Sean D. Like Boom said, this was a great panel. Nobody had any kind of just like surface level responses. I guess that's why we hit 2 hours and 30 minutes. It was really great. Like everybody really gave thoughtful responses, and it was really great to be a part of that. So I will see you guys next time.
Well, thank you so much. And speaking of detail, middle-aged gamer guy, brother, listen, when you come to these panels, you come locked and loaded. You didn't disappoint, even though as a host, I failed you and I skipped you on the first topic.
Don't worry about that.
Tell everyone about what you got going on, but more importantly, where can people strike up a conversation with you? And of course, once again, thank you for bringing it 100.
Oh, well, thank you, brother. And guys, it was wonderful to have both Sean D and, of course, Wandering Dutch here on the show. And it was a great show, as always, epic, as always. And yes, you can follow me on Twitter at the Middle Age Game Guy. That's with a GY at the end. And on the PlayStation 5 and on the Xbox Series X, you can find me at all one word, all capitals, because I don't know how to be quiet. I am the Mag. That is with 2 G's, folks, not 1 G, not like mag as in magazine. So anyways, you can find me there. Yes, you can find me here every Monday night, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Prime Time Gaming with Mr. Boomstick XL and friends and guests. And of course, you can find me Tuesday night at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time with none other than Noof Nukem and Titan Drago on Gaming After Dark. Yes, and you know what? It's been an exhausting 2 weeks. I've been doing like 5 shows a week for the last couple of weeks.
Tiring, dude. Yeah.
Holy Jesus. I've been on Crossfire. I've been on Basement Radio Arcade podcast. I've been on the TXR podcast. I've been all over the place. And people are still pulling at me. And I'm like, guys, I don't have time for everything, but I'd love to do it. You know what? But anyways, guys, it's wonderful. We had a great show this week. Great guests as always. And we'll see you all next week.
Well, thank you for, of course, your comments, and you know what? Thank for keeping it, like locking down those lunatics over at Mooch's show, which of course is Crossfire Friday evenings. You know, you I think you were the voice of reason once again.
Jeez, it's exhausting, let me tell you.
Well, thank you for that. And Everborn Saga, brother. Let's get you on out of here. Tell everyone about your incredible anime, where they could support you on Amazon by buying the the books, and more importantly, where could they check out the Everborn Saga?
Well, speaking of Amazon, if you are not located in the US of A, then yes, I would say just search for Everborn on Amazon. But if you're in the States, I would humbly ask you check out everbornsaga.com, because when you order from there, we do same day shipping and everything comes signed and with a personal note by me. And what am I talking about? The Everborn books. So we have the first 3 chapters of Prince of Arcadia available now. Prince of Arcadia chapter 4 will be dropping imminently. And Ariel's Adventure, the book from our wildly successful Kickstarter, will also be launching very soon, just as soon as our print order clears customs and gets over to us, which I'm hoping is sometime next week. And then we're working on a new series, which we'll announce soon. So Everborn Saga everywhere. That is Facebook, Instagram, Xbox, PlayStation, Steam, Twitter, TikTok, you name it. But I'm mostly active on Twitter, and I try to follow everyone back who follows me. So if you want to have a conversation with me, reach out to me on Twitter. But more importantly, check out everbornsaga.com. It'll change your life.
Thank you, brothers. Definitely appreciate that. And Kay Asante, newest member to the panel of Primetime Gaming. Tell everyone about what you got going on with Everborn twice a week, but also what you got going on social media. Where can people reach out to you and strike up a conversation?
So, as usual, thank you all. This was always wonderful to get this stuff off your chest. You know, I appreciate having conversations with you guys. Wandering Dutch, I am a huge fan. I've been catching your stuff for quite some time now. I'm always lingering in your chats, midweek mix up. I dig it. I'm always listening in. Great stuff. I always appreciate the energy, the stuff you guys talk about. Try to keep the negativity out. Always positive. I dig it. So I really appreciate podcasting with you. I hope we get to do that again soon. Sean D, you as well. Very cool podcasting with you. Good topics. You know, went straight for it. As you said, no surface level stuff. We're getting to the heart of the matter. So I appreciate that. Thank you so much. And of course, the mag, always unscripted, always loud and honest. Never let anybody stop you. I appreciate that. It's good. You know, so thank you guys very much. It's always great podcasting with you. And my man Everborn, you know, you and me, we here. So it is what it is. K_Asante on Twitter. Thursdays we do On the Reel. That is on Everborn's channel. Movies, TV shows.
Fun fact about that. This week we are going to talk about why The Matrix Reloaded is the best Matrix on my side, and why Mr. K. Asante thinks that Star Wars episodes 8 and 9 are the best Star Wars. So it will be fun.
Okay, so for the record, that's not what I said, but you know, this is what you can expect.
Clickbait, damn it.
Exactly. Don't believe the clickbait.
I was very clear that Reloaded is the best Matrix.
And come to the podcast and get beyond the slogan and hear what we have to say. You'll hear that it's more nuanced.
Yes, and you will hear Mr. K. Asante be wrong.
On this occasion, fall for the clickbait.
Don't fall for the clickbait. But needless to say, so On the Reel Thursdays, always hot, as you can tell, always some hot takes on Thursdays. And on Saturdays, myself and Everborn also like to come together and do the Gaming Circle podcast on my channel. We like to get a little bit outlandish because as has been discussed, you know, we're all part of the same gaming community. You know, we have the same conversation. So we like to kind of go off on the left field a little bit. I'm thinking that in the future episodes, we'll probably be doing some more VR talk, maybe some you know, outlandish, off the beaten path stuff, just to keep things fresh. But absolutely. Please, yes, I appreciate you folks for having me on, and hopefully you will see everybody on again next week. Thank you so much.
No, thanks for being here. And everyone, listen, as we close out today's 2.5 hour plus show, I want to thank you for the super chats that came in. I want to thank you for the support. 30,000 plus views in 5 days for my YouTube channel over the E3. I mean, folks, that's listen, this is a small channel. To get that kind of viewage is monster.
How many hours of sleep did you lose to get that?
Probably a lot, because when I'm not podcasting, I'm migraines. Yeah. Oh God, plenty of them. Too many. But listen, folks, I'm going to close out the show with something that's important to me. Hopefully, one day it'll be important to you, and that's something that my dad taught us when we were kids. And he said, "Son, treat others how you want to be treated. And also, it doesn't cost anything to be nice. You live by those rules, and I can guarantee you're going to have an awesome day. So take care, everyone. We'll see you next week on the newest episode of Primetime Gaming with Mr. Boomstick and Friends."